Douluo, Wuhan Black Turtle. Anti-armor critical attack at the beginning. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 226. Also at this time point several strange blood appeared out of thin air. Finally, the medicinal materials separated and condensed one after another. Huang Wei's tyrannical half-step heaven realm soul power spread out. Point controls the heat very skillfully. You don't need an alchemy furnace to just refine it with your bare hands. Only a very high level alchemist can do this. And there are 3 ingredients for the elixir. Does Your Majesty want to refine 3 kinds of elixirs at once? How is this possible? Doesn't really that scary? With each word they said, Huang Wei's shock level was immediately filled to the maximum point. After they finished speaking, they closed their mouths in understanding and watched quietly. No matter what, this is about whether Medusa can be promoted to Daozong and the chance to evolve her bloodline. Nothing can happen. They were all sweating it out, hoping they wouldn't have time. Everything must be successful. It's best to live it once. Time flew by. Their voices had no impact on Huang Wei at all. Just when refining begins, he will automatically enter a very subtle state. In this state, it blocks everything from the outside world that does not threaten the owner's life. So their shocked voices were blocked. 3 elixirs were refined at once, and the grades were not low. Even Huang Wei, who has half-step heavenly soul power, is a little struggling. But the problem is not big. Under the supervision of soul power, 3 pills are being formed bit by bit. Seeing this scene, Huang Wei continued to keep the fire going and waited. Another half stick of incense passed. At this moment, 3 scents of red pepper scent filled the air as the flames disappeared. 3 pills with 3 colors and patterns appeared in Huang Wei's hand. Each one has the same 3 colors. This must be related to its own refining flame. Kinglian earth core fire has a larger proportion of cyan. This also shows that the alien fire suppresses the beast fire. There was a trace of sweat overflowing from Huang Wei's forehead. It was rubbed away by a gust of wind. It's done. Several elders were overjoyed. So does Medusa. This is the Piozong pill, this is the transformation pill, and this is the bloodline evolution pill. First take the transformation pill and become a human form, then take the Piozong pill and the bloodline evolution pill together. Because I use 3 kinds of flames to refine them, these 3 pills all have the power of animal fire and strange fire. Overall, they are definitely more beneficial than ordinary pills of the same type. Huang Wei swiped his palm forward, and 3 pills flew directly towards Medusa. At the same time, voices also sounded explaining, okay, thank you, Your Majesty. Then I can take it now? Medusa looked at the 3 pills in her hand, her eyes burning with passion, and her impulsive look was written all over her face. Huang Wei nodded. Okay, go ahead. Soon, Medusa returned to her palace. As for Huang Wei and others, they were waiting outside. Medusa followed Huang Wei's instructions. First, he took a transformation pill. After swallowing it, the elixir instantly turned into a stream of clear water and quickly penetrated into the body. This one melts in your mouth. It was like taking a breath of a different kind of air. The strong fragrance of red wine made her close her eyes and have endless aftertaste. Her pink-red lips licked her lips. However, at this moment, she felt that the power was like an arrow piercing the clouds, opening up all the 8 meridians and internal organs unable to hold back. He groaned. Face flushed. Next moment. A ray of light completely enveloped her. A few seconds later, as the light disappears, the form of Medusa appeared. Tall, charming, and coquettish. Her long hair is flowing and dancing in the wind. The delicate legs are vertically downward. The original snake body has indeed turned into a human form. Feel this wonderful change. Medusa smiled seductively. The effect of this elixir is really amazing. Next, it's you. Whether I can become a Daozong and evolve my bloodline depends entirely on you. Saying that, Medusa did not hesitate and directly stuffed the 2 pills in her hand, the Piozong pill and the bloodline evolution pill, into her pink mouth. In an instant, the elixir also melted in the mouth. 2 waves of medicinal power burst out. The tyrannical force impacted his whole body and head. Medusa's pupils shrank, feeling hot all over. The medicine is so powerful. Medusa's expression changed drastically, and she immediately sat down cross-legged. Run the exercises in your body, and start walking according to the breath in your body. Aha. The two medicinal powers were changing her body at the same time. Medusa went all out to break through. As for the bloodline enhancement pill, it is a passive medicine. There is no need for her to take the initiative. Just wait for the bloodline to improve. Everyone outside was waiting nervously. Especially those elders. Your Majesty, how long will this take? The Great Elder wiped away the nervous sweat and asked, I don't know. Generally, breakthroughs are calculated based on the number of days. My elixir is quite special. I can't say when the breakthrough will be completed. Huang Wei's words also showed in disguise that his elixir was very powerful. Several elders looked helpless when they heard this and could only wait. Time passed, but there was still no movement in Medusa's palace. But Huang Wei can ensure that the other party is safe. Several elders asked worriedly several times. After getting Huang Wei's answer, he breathed a sigh of relief. Soon, day by day, passed. Until the morning of the third day. A movement and an extremely cold ice power spread out. A tyrannical power of Daozang spread. Everyone in the snake tribe became frightened. In the next second, the power of ice converged. A figure walked through the sky from the sky. This person is none other than Heibodom. He didn't waste any time during these 3 days. After taking Huang Wei's Puan pill, he immediately refined the energy effectiveness of the center of the ice circle in his body. Finally took the final step. From a half-step Daozang, he broke through and became a current Daozang. He is now, it's the real deal, 1-star Daozang. From now on. Ice King Heibodong is also the past tense. Chapter 227. Now, he should be called Bingzong Heibodong, but I saw it in Huang Wei. Ice King sounds better, but the Ice Sect, with a sect character, is a bit higher. Chapter 268. Purple Gold Winged Lion King. In the following time. Heibodong stabilized his cultivation in the territory of the snake people. Use the center of the ice circle to practice. The center of the ice circle has always existed in the Danshan of Daoki. Making his ice power even more powerful. After reaching Daozang, I have a better understanding of many things in the realm. Many mysterious feelings are difficult to describe in words. You can only rely on your own careful consideration. After the first exam is completed, the ice god also gave the second test. The content is to completely stabilize one's own cultivation and realize the true meaning of ice. During this time, Huang Wei was also studying his own things in the Jialing space. Such as elixirs and materials for mass production. After growing up in the Jialing space. Gongshan's current strength has reached the Daohuang level. Huang Wei also integrated and blended the collected blood of the amethyst winged Lion King, Medusa, and Nether Sea Blue Dragon. In the superpower laboratory, he stared at the test vessel in front of him. When the test vessel was opened, the white atmosphere was revealed, and a strange smell wafted out. Inside the vessel, there is a rectangular bottle lying. Inside the appliance liquids of 3 colors. Huang Wei reached out and picked it up. Here, he eliminated the harmful and junk genes in the blood of 3 kinds of monsters, and finally extracted the final product of the fusion. Also called the Soul Beast blood gene. The objects used are naturally Gongshan. Ding dong. Suddenly, a voice sounded from the vessel nearby. Huang Wei put down the bottle in his hand and looked over. Inside the vessel is a dark green head soul bone. This head soul bone exudes suffocating poisonous power. It was the head soul bone he prepared for the little medical fairy. He showed a satisfied smile. Both things came out. With a wave of his hand, he collected the soul bone. He left the laboratory with the gene bottle and came to the Jialing space. Summoned Gongshan. Father, Gongshan had already surpassed Huang Wei's height and size at this time. He was very satisfied, shook the gene injection in front of Gongshan, and said, "This is your new power." With that said, he injected it directly into Gongshan's arm. Gongshan screamed. A terrifying force erupted. His cultivation level quickly skyrocketed to the 9-star peak. Daohuang. It's only half a step away from Daozang. Father, I want to go out and take a look. Okay, I will arrange it. In the room, Huang Wei's soul returned to its original form. Open one's eyes, because he has the center of the divine world in the heart of Zuanwu. As long as he enters the Jialing space, he will automatically practice. Coupled with 50% of the cultivation speed. So many days have passed in the snake tribe. He can also feel his own cultivation. It is already close to Samsung Daozhen. The Lotus platform of Kinglian Earth Heart Fire can help increase the speed of cultivation. It seems that I have to get it back later. Huang Wei murmured to himself. He needed to work harder and went to Canon Academy to absorb the second strange fire. Then take the head of Medicine King, Han Feng, back to Medicine Master. Getting up, he left the room. Going out, there is nothing special about the snake tribe. It is just a desert. It is indeed a very difficult living condition. The figure of the little medical fairy ran out. Master. Huang Wei looked over. Xiaonazi ran over and handed the elixir in her hand directly to Huang Wei. Master, this is the elixir I refined during this period. How do you like it? The little medical fairy looked at Huang Wei, looking forward to it like a person who had completed his homework and wanted to be praised. Huang Wei knew the quality just by looking at it. The little medical fairy has first grade elixirs in his hands. There are formal elixirs and the regular poisonous elixirs. Okay, but Huang Wei raised his hand and stroked the other person's brain. The little medical fairy immediately smiled, and it felt good to be praised. A soul bone appeared in Huang Wei's hand. This is a soul bone from the head. It has great potential to help you control the evil poisonous body. I'll teach you to absorb her. After hearing what his master said, the little medical fairy's eyes lit up, and he became excited. Yeah, okay. Although the word soul bone was unfamiliar to her, she believed that her master would not harm her. And with her innate sensitivity to poison, she could feel that the item called the soul bone in front of her had very terrifying poisonous power. What can be taken out by master, who is a Daozhen, must not be a simple item. It must be a big treasure. After entering the room, she sat cross-legged according to Huang Wei's instructions. The soul bone is right in front of you. Huang Wei told her how to absorb it. The people here don't have martial souls, so they can't mobilize martial souls to absorb them. But it's the same thing to use Dao Qi to absorb. While she was absorbing it, Huang Wei was thinking about a question. If he follows the conditions for awakening martial souls in Douluo continent and uses them on people from Dao Qi continent, will he be able to awaken successfully? Thinking of this, his eyes lit up. Going to give it a try. Fingers move slightly. Suddenly the awakening stone, which is unique to Douluo continent, appeared. Of course, affirmation is also needed as attraction. However, at this moment, he felt a powerful Daozhen power. A flash of light flashed across his eyes, looking towards Medusa's palace. This power of fighting sect is emanating from there. No need to say anything more. Medusa successfully broke through Daozhen. And such a huge momentum is even more impressive than Heibodong's. Could it be because of the bloodline evolution pill? He remembered that Medusa was not the only one who took the elixir and his mount, the amethyst winged Lion King. That day Medusa returned to the palace with the medicine. Huang Wei gave the amethyst winged Lion King a copy of the mass-produced transformation pill, Piozan pill and bloodline evolution pill. The opponent quickly broke through and became a 3-star Daozhen in the Jialing space. Bloodline evolution was also very successful. The amethyst winged Lion King evolves into the purple gold winged Lion King, such a bloodline. After his bloodline evolved, he learned from his memory that it was an ancestral bloodline that only existed in ancient times. After the bloodline is improved, all its qualifications will be greatly improved. Daozhen is no longer the end. At the same time, he can also transform into a human being. Has come out of the Jialing space. Chapter 228. Living in the snake tribe. Plus Heibodong. Currently, there are 3 powerful warriors from the Daozhen in the snake tribe. Heibodong also had a figure in golden robes appear in the sky. This golden robe is the purple gold winged Lion King. After transforming into a human, his name will be Zijin. Zijin was the first to speak. After so many days, she finally completed her transformation and became a Daozhen. There is no aura of monster about her now. Totally human scent. Unless you are really a very advanced person. Otherwise, it would be impossible to tell that she is a monster incarnate. Bibi Dong nodded. Yes, this moment has finally come, but fortunately, I'm one step ahead of her, otherwise it would be a joke. Just now he completed more than half of the ice god's second test point. This exam was not as difficult as he thought. It's just that it's difficult to break through Daozang in the first test point. Just find the right method. Chapter 269 Colorful Sky Swallowing Python. Everyone in the snake tribe felt this aura. They all fell into worship. Several elders also surrendered under this aura. In these few days Huang Wei used Zuanwu blessing on them. Help them increase their cultivation speed. The neck bottle that has been stuck has been directly broken through. All 4 elders broke through to the 1-star Dao Huang. But they were so excited. Just now they felt the improvement from their bloodline. His own cultivation also showed faint signs of breakthrough again. A huge roar resounded throughout the world. A giant python emitting colorful light, opening its big mouth that could swallow the sky and the earth, became a scene in the sky. Clouds rolled around, and thunder struck. Colorful sky swallowing python. The 4 elders' voices trembled. Immediately afterwards, there was a feeling in their bodies that their blood vessels were completely activated. The cultivation level quickly flew up. It's not just them. The entire snake clan has the same light. Both his cultivation and qualifications have been greatly improved at this moment. All 4 elders have become 9-star peak fighting emperors. The other Daowangs have also broken through to Dao Huang level. Daolings 1 broke through to Dao Wang. The great fighting master enters the fighting spirit. The Dao Shi enters the great Dao master. Fighter enters fighter. The fighting spirit condenses directly into the fighting cyclone and steps into the fighting spirit. This scene is the sublimation of the entire snake clan. It really means that when one person attains enlightenment, the whole family will ascend. This is the law of Daoqi continent. After feeling this subtle change, Bibi Dong and Zijin were extremely shocked. This has improved. It's soaring. Bibi Dong was extremely envious. As for Zijin, it's okay. After all, after her bloodline evolved, her son's little Lion King also got an improvement. His cultivation level also quickly skyrocketed. At the same time, let it absorb the accompanying amethyst source. He is practicing in the Jialing space world of Huang Wei. Huang Wei was very indifferent to all this. He murmured, "Is this the 7-colored sky swallowing python?" It is indeed quite shocking to see reality. The 7-colored sky swallowing python is huge and hovers around the sky, fighting against the baptism of thunder. We crossed over quickly. Immediately afterwards, it transformed into an extremely beautiful figure of a tall woman. It was Medusa in human form. The fragrance on her body is fragrant, and there is no evil spirit about her at this moment. She is a genuine Samsung Daozang. Yes, she broke through because of the evolution of her bloodline. When he broke through to become a 1-star Daozang, he also broke through 2 ranks in a row. This situation is the same as Zijin. This is the benefit brought by the strong bloodline. This made Bibi Dong extremely bitter and envious. It seems that Warcraft still has the benefits of Warcraft. There are 2 more stars. No one knows how many years of practice those Daozang have had. After some people break through and become Daozang, they may not be able to break through to 2 stars in their lifetime. This is a very scary gap. At that time, it also aroused Bibi Dong's mentality of practicing and improving. Medusa glanced at the people below. His eyes were on Bibi Dong and Zijin. She felt that it was very simple for her to defeat Bibi Dong. But it is not easy to defeat the woman in front of him who is also a Samsung Daozang. It can only be a tie. Who is this woman? Medusa looked confused. Congratulations. Medusa breaks through and becomes a Daozang. Bibi Dong and Zijin immediately stepped forward to congratulate him. From now on, they will be a powerful person. They all follow your majesty. Any grudges we had in the past were all resolved in the previous battle. Same joy. Who are you? Medusa responded to the 2. She felt a familiar aura on the woman in gold clothes in front of her. Zijin smiled slightly and said in a light voice, "Amethyst Winged Lion King, it's just that after you, I also took the same pill as you and reached the 3-star Daozang today. It turns out that the Amethyst Winged Lion King is a woman." Medusa suddenly understood and was even more sure that the perception in her heart was correct. Huang Wei looked at this scene and sighed. "The people under my command are all Daozang. It seems that I, a Daozang, must speed up my breakthrough." Set. a small goal and complete a 1000 transformation within a year. Huang Wei set a small goal for himself. 1 rank of 1000 is equivalent to 1 rank after 1 star 1000 reaches the 9-star peak 1000 and is promoted again. Huang Wei came to the 3 of them. "Your Majesty." The 3 people immediately said respectfully. Huang Wei looked at Medusa, nodded with satisfaction, and then said with a trace of amusement, "Medusa, do you have the idea of doing something with me?" When Zijin broke through and became a Samsung Daozang point, I also want to experience the power of Huang Wei point. The result was no doubt that the person who was beaten began to wonder whether the evolution of this bloodline was fake and whether it had moisture point. Even though she has evolved, she can still feel extremely powerful point. But in front of Huang Wei, he was still an ant being tortured. And she unleashed the most terrifying blow, since she couldn't even move a single barrier on the opponent's side. Suddenly she felt that Dao's heart was a little broken. Is the gap between Daozan and Daozang really that terrible? Although the bloodline has evolved point, the cultivation qualifications have been greatly improved point, but it is still very difficult to improve every level in Daozang point, not to mention Daozan, who is far away and out of reach point. If it weren't for the evolution of his bloodline and the improvement of his cultivation qualifications, perhaps with the help of Huang Wei, 1-star Daozang would be the limit point. Only at this moment did she understand point. It turns out that Daozang is the beginning. It's really too difficult. I want to give it a try. Medusa said after a moment of silence point. She wanted to test how far her evolved 7-colored sky-swallowing python and 3-star Daozang were from the Daozang in front of her. Chapter 229. See this scene. Bibi Dong and Zijin both showed a subtle smile. Bibi Dong had seen the whole scene of Zijin being brutally tortured. In an instant, he who originally wanted to try the challenge lost his fighting spirit. There is no way. It is too miserable. The 3-star fighting sects and bloodline evolutions were brutally tortured into this horrible state. Not to mention here's a 1-star Daozang. And there is no bloodline evolution yet. The end will be even more miserable. Immediately afterwards, Medusa and Huang Wei rushed into the sky. Medusa burst out with 3-star fighting power. He fought against Huang Wei. Huang Wei stood there, motionless, easily resisted Medusa's attack. Medusa's seemingly terrifying attack couldn't even cut through his defensive layer of skin. At this moment, sweat continued to flow from Medusa's forehead. Realize the terror of Huang Wei. Immediately afterwards, it was Huang Wei's turn to take action point. Just walk over with a big dick point. Medusa seemed to have been hit hard point. The body lost its balance, like a falling meteor smashed down hard point. Boom, bang. Suddenly, a python sound sounded from below point. The huge 7-colored sky-swallowing python's true form appeared. He went directly towards Huang Wei to kill him violently point. She planned to break Huang Wei's defense no matter what, even if it is torn open a little. How can you be so strong? It's so strong that it scares me. It's ridiculously strong. My Daozang, is it real or fake? Snapped. Huang Wei dodged, came to her, and slapped her again point. The terrifying fighting spirit condensed into a huge palm and slapped the 7-colored sky-swallowing python point. After a miserable roar, the colorful sky-swallowing python was crushed and entered the sand again point. Chapter 270. Green scales bang. With a streak of dust dissipated point. The battle is over. Seeing this scene, everyone couldn't bear to look at it. Those snake people all suspected the snake body. There are also elders who have just been promoted to the 9-star peak. Dao Huang. It was even more heartbreaking. This gap is too big, Queen. You don't have the slightest advantage at all. It seems that Daozang is still an ant in front of your majesty. We, the 9-star peak fighting emperors, are just ridiculous. The 4 elders immediately shook their heads secretly and laughed at themselves. I thought that the queen was not as good as the colorful sky-swallowing python, and her bloodline had evolved point. His cultivation level has also been promoted to Daozang point, will become strong point. But in front of Daozang, they still have a long way to go. Bibi Dong and Zijin looked at each other. Bibi Dong said thankfully, fortunately, after I was promoted to the 1-star Dao sect, I didn't have trouble thinking about it. After all, he had been brutalized before, when he was fighting against the emperor. That memory is a dark psychological shadow. Bibi Dong's words were like a needle, making Zijin's heart hurt and his face looked as ugly as if he had eaten shit point. After all, She had challenged it before. The outcome was not much better. Medusa returned to her human form. He fell to the ground, feeling extremely uncomfortable. There is blood in the mouth, which is fishy and sweet. At this moment, her body hurt both inside and outside. It looks like it's broken. Looking inside, it seems that it really is. Huang Wei's figure came to her and put a PON pill directly into his mouth. This scene made Medusa blush. But the next second, the medicine took effect. The elixir melts in your mouth. This is Huang Wei's improved PON pill. It's even more awesome than the one Yaf 8. Medusa's body felt warm. Everyone feels very comfortable. The pain in my body completely disappeared. Thank you for your advice, Your Majesty. The little girl exaggerated. Medusa immediately complimented her. Huang Wei stopped. It doesn't matter. Medusa asked, Your Majesty, regarding the habitat of the snake people. Huang Wei said, just lead all the snake people to move to the Jama Empire. I will go back to the Jama Empire with you and go directly to the royal family there. Medusa's eyes flashed and she immediately said, Your Majesty, now that I have the strength of the 3-star Daozang, we can complete these things. Huang Wei reminded, the guardian beast of the royal family of the Jama Empire is also a Daozang, but it is only 1 star. Medusa was shocked. That dragon beast is also a Daozang. Fortunately, we didn't go there before, otherwise it would have been tragic. Is this also the work of Your Majesty? Medusa raised her head, curious. Huang Wei nodded. My deal with that dragon. Huang Wei looked towards the direction of the royal family of the Gamma Empire and said calmly, I also plan to recruit a few people there under my command. It will be a good time to go back this time. Medusa asked, Your Majesty, when shall we set off? Huang Wei replied, in 2 days. You should prepare yourself. This time the whole family will be moved. Yes. Medusa's eyebrows lit up. In the next world, Medusa summoned several elders and other high-level officials. A meeting on the relocation of the snake people was held. Heibodong and the little medical immortal stayed in the snake tribe to practice. The purple gold transformed into the purple gold winged Lion King and carried Huang Wei directly to the valley where the Kinglian Earth Heart Fire was located. On the way, we were 10 kilometers outside Shimo City. I happened to see a group of people bullying a woman. This woman is very strange. When I was bullied before. Suddenly, the aura and cultivation level on his body directly broke through to the realm of a fighter. A desperate counterattack was carried out. When Huang Wei arrived. She killed all those who bullied her. There was a pool of blood on the ground. Only the poor girl was left, trembling helplessly. Your Majesty, I smell the scent of the snake people on the girl below, but she also has the scent of a human being. It's so strange. Those who have the aura of humans and snakes, but whose cultivation level is only 1 star, cannot transform unless they eat the transformation grass. Either it is the product of the union of humans and snakes. Zijin's voice reached Huang Wei's ears. Huang Wei also discovered the following scene. Is it her? Go down and have a look. Huang Wei frowned, then said with a smile, if nothing else, this person is King Lin. It's just that in the original work, it seems that the opponent does not have a fighter level. Is it because the real world is somewhat different from the world in novels? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230. If this is the explanation, it is somewhat excusable. Yes. The purple gold-winged Lion King fell directly. How to do. I killed people, killed many people. This is not my intention. They want to bully me. I was just acting in self-defense. They are all bad people. I'm not wrong. The girl looked pitifully at her blood-stained hands and the blood-stained corpses around her, murmuring in horror with a trembling face. The eyes are very peculiar, with a strange pattern. Suddenly, she felt a super terrifying force falling from the sky. The sky also became dark. Her head jerked up. There was a look of surprise and fear on his face. She thought these people were coming to seek revenge on her. Terrified. Huang Wei's figure jumped down from the purple gold-winged Lion King. Human. Kinglin was shocked. Point, I didn't expect that there would be humans on such a terrifying monster. Then this human must be very powerful. Point, Huang Wei just flew in front of her. You have to come under the tattered cloth covering her. Her head was raised, revealing her charming eyes. It's really a green snake with 3 colored pupils. Your name is Kinglin, right? Huang Wei came directly to her, caressed her face, and asked with a smile. Point, the girl was suddenly startled. You, who are you? How do you know my name? At this moment, the girl felt that all the power in her body was inexplicably dissolved. Point, she knew that the person in front of her was very powerful, and she had no power to resist at all. Point, but it was obviously a stranger whom I met for the first time. Point, but the person in front of her gave people an all-inclusive sense of intimacy, which made her sink in. She subconsciously thought that this person was a very good person. Point, a good person who would never hurt her. Confirmed by the girl. Point, Huang Wei's smile became even richer. This girl is a poor person. Point, in the original work, he was captured by someone from that family. Point, I want to dig out my eyes and transplant them. Point, but fortunately, the other party is also the lucky person in the plot. Point, so he escaped. Point, Huang Wei smiled. Are you willing to follow me? I can give you a home, but I killed someone. Kinglin's eyes were crystal clear. Huang Wei said, those people deserve to die. It's not your fault. It's those people who are wrong, and it's the world that's wrong. His words were like enlightenment, making Kinglin wake up instantly. Point, look carefully at the corpses around you. Point, suddenly, a wave of fighting energy surged. Point, the blood and corpses around him were completely burned by a blue flame. Point, a fusion of seawater power wiped away the blood stains on Kinglin's body. From now on, you are my sister. I'm your brother Huang Wei. Chapter 271. Green snake, 6 flower pupils. Just like that, Huang Wei didn't wait for the other party to say anything. Point, he directly took it with him on the back of the purple gold-winged Lion King. Point, the purple gold-winged Lion King took off directly and headed towards the original location. Point, on his back, Kinglin suddenly came to his senses. Huang Wei took off her tattered coat. Brother, no, she suddenly panicked, trying to hide something. Point, afraid of scaring this new brother. Huang Wei looked at the scales on half of her arms. He smiled and said, this is very beautiful. There is nothing to hide. I'm your brother and I don't care about these things. I have a transformation pill, a origin pill, and a bloodline evolution pill here. You can eat them. If you want the scales to show, you can control the contraction when the time comes. Pian Dan will help you improve your qualifications. The bloodline evolution pill can evolve your bloodline, and it may have unexpected effects on you. While talking, Huang Wei's hand had already been stretched out. There are 3 pills in the palm of his hand. Point, Kinglin grabbed it hesitantly. Point, these elixirs smell so good. Point, so mellow. Point, the grade is so high. It must be a very valuable elixir. Brother, isn't this too expensive? Kinglin asked timidly. Point, Huang Wei rubbed her head and said kindly, it's not expensive. You can have it anytime you want. All the pills produced in large batches in the super laboratory suddenly appeared in his mind, and he couldn't help but laugh. Pills that others think are difficult to obtain. Point, since he had a plug-in, he was able to do it in an instant. Point, and there are as many as there are. Point, there is no such thing as nothing. Eat it, Huang Wei said. Aha. Kinglin nodded, like an ignorant girl who doesn't understand anything. It was like being abducted by a strange uncle. She swallowed 3 pills at once. A grunt. Immediately, I felt a very angry energy flowing through my body. Pei Yuan Dan can strengthen the foundation and improve the cultivation qualifications. If it's better, you can directly improve your cultivation level. Point, the transformation pill can make Kinglin completely human. Point, there will be no snake human demonic aura emanating from the body, and the scales on the hands will disappear when transformed into a fully human body. Point, appear according to her wishes. Bloodline evolution pill. Point, regardless, she is a cross between a human and a snake. Point, he also has snake blood in his body to some extent. Point, and her eyes are green snake and 3 flowered pupils. It's a very powerful pupil technique. Point, logically speaking, Kinglin's bloodline is very powerful. Point, 3 pills. The elixir of the transformation pill takes effect first. Point, completely transformed into human form. Point, the blood in his body was also sublimated at this moment. Point, reached an indescribable bloodline height. Point, at the same moment, The power of Yuan pill was finally triggered. Combined with bloodline enhancement, a greater medicinal effect can be exerted. Her cultivation level began to improve. 2 star fighter, 3 star fighter, 4 star fighter, 5 element fighter. The cultivation level is still improving and has not stopped. Seeing this scene, Huang Wei did not stop it. In fact, if you improve too quickly, your foundation will be unstable. However, Huang Wei now has the Yuan Peidan, and his fighting spirit also has the effect of strengthening the foundation and cultivating the Yuan. There is no worry that King Lin's foundation will be unstable. Yuan pill is a pill that can be continuously added and updated with materials. Chapter 231. At worst, we will find more materials to refine together later. Now let King Lin experience the refreshing feeling of upgrading his cultivation without being suppressed. Soon, King Lin's cultivation level reached a level of 1-star Dao Master and then stopped. This is the benefit brought by Yuan Dan and bloodline evolution. King Lin opened his eyes. There was a strong aura about her. This breath is even more ethereal. It's just this originally strong aura. In front of Huang Wei and the purple gold winged Lion King, they were suppressed to death. Not as showy anymore. Blue snake and 3 flowered pupils appeared in King Lin's eyes. However, the pupils seemed to have more lines. Huang Wei watched carefully. There are 3 more flowers. I counted 6 flowers. Huang Wei was also stunned for a moment. What kind of magic is this? 6 flowers? Could it be the green snake with 6 flowered pupils? He felt King Lin's current aura. I found that the other party didn't have that kind of floating attitude. It seems that the foundation is not unstable. Very stable. Huang Wei was very satisfied with this, although Yuan Dan is produced in batches, but the quality can still be guaranteed. Elder brother, King Lin looked at the young man in front of him. Her vision is very clear now. And he can see very far. Can you hide this eye skill now, Huang Wei asked. If we say that the green snake with 3 flower pupils is the nemesis of all snakes, then the types of monsters that the evolved green snake 6 flower pupils may contain are even more detailed. After all, it never appeared because of Huang Wei. Ability must not be as simple as it seems. Yeah, sure. King Lin closed his eyes and opened them again. Her pupils turned the black color. That is the hallmark of humanity. Looks very normal. Now that your green snake 3 flower pupils have turned into 6 flowers, let's just call them green snake 6 flower pupils. Perhaps you are the first person in the entire Daoqi continent to possess this technique. This ability is your unique talent. Huang Wei raised his hand and put it on King Lin's head, rubbed it and said softly, well, from now on it will be called B Snake 6 flower pupils. I can feel that it is very powerful, but how strong it is, I don't know yet. After King Lin nodded, he looked confused again. It's okay. You'll know when you find time to test it. You need to take your time to develop its ability. There is no need to rush it. Huang Wei smiled slightly. Soon they came to a valley. This valley has rocks. The surrounding desert is a sinking terrain. Inside is a stone road in the valley. The surrounding stones are arranged unevenly. The purple gold winged Lion King landed. Huang Wei saw a cave in front of him. All 3 of them felt the sultry atmosphere emanating from the cave. The purple gold winged Lion King transformed into a human form. King Lin was shocked at first, but it'll be fine soon. The 3 of them walked in. Your Majesty, there is a 5th level magical beast here. Zijin looked at the molten world in front of him and said, with the fact that she is also a soul beast, she can easily realize it. You guys wait for me here. I'll go down there. As he spoke, Huang Wei's figure descended directly into the lava in front of him. In the molten world. A layer of blue water power enveloped him. Even if it doesn't need to be covered, it's okay. His soul power scanned. Soon he discovered that a big two-headed guy was quickly attacking him. Are you coming? Huang Wei smiled. He instantly locked onto the opponent's aura and teleported in front of the two-headed fire spirit snake. The party was startled. Immediately afterwards, without saying a word, he was beaten violently by Huang Wei. The two-headed fire spirit snake howled, screaming. Finally it turned into a pitiful fire snake and followed him. Go down, Huang When he rode it and pointed downward, the inner fire of King Lian appeared on his body. Under the perception of the flame bloodline. It soon discovered the location of the lotus platform. After all, Lian Te is the mother of King Lian, Earth Heart Fire. Chapter 272. The power of martial arts. The whole family moved beneath the molten world. Dive quickly. The surrounding colors gradually change. No more red. But blue. This scene is somewhat similar to what I saw in my previous life. Very familiar. Not far away in front of you, there is a lotus flower floating in it. Get closer there. Huang Wei pointed to the two-headed fire spirit snake riding beneath him. The double-eyed fire spirit snake was afraid of being beaten, but now it has become very well behaved, sensible, and obedient. Dive quickly. Soon he came to the lotus platform and stopped. Huang Wei floated into the lotus platform. Here, I found the scales of Medusa. There are also lotus seeds of King Lian, Earth Heart Fire. These are good stuff too. There are many benefits to refining elixirs. It is very helpful in cultivation. This lotus platform is also a good thing. The more Huang Wei looked at it, the more he liked it, and waved his hand. The lotus platform in front of him gradually shrank and entered Huang Wei's body. This lotus platform helps to increase the speed of cultivation. In the original work, in the finale, that guy Zhao Yan used the lotus platform of King Lian's Earth Core Fire to quickly regain his strength. This is a practice plugin. It has a very good calming effect. A thought. In his hands, a blue lotus platform appeared. But now it's only as big as a palm. With the disappearance of the lotus platform. The original blue color around him disappeared. Chapter 232. Turn back to red. It seems that all the blue color is caused by this lotus platform. Everything is settled. Okay, done. It's not difficult at all. Huang Wei sat on the head of the two-headed fire spirit snake and rushed forward. Zijin and King Lin have been waiting above. Immediately, he noticed the fluctuations in the magma. First he saw Huang Wei's figure. Then I saw snakes with two heads sticking out. This scene shocked King Lin directly. 5th level two-headed fire spirit snake. Zijin said lightly, "Your Majesty, have you found it?" Zijin asked. Huang Wei came to them and nodded. Then he said to King Lin, use the green snake 6 flower pupils to stare at it and subdue it. King Lin was stunned at first. Then do it immediately. When the eyes are closed. A pair of 6 lotus flower-like patterns appeared in his pupils, the 6 flowered pupils of the green snake. At this moment, the soul of the double-eyed fire spirit snake trembled. I felt that everything about me was suppressed by the eyes of the girl in front of me. A magical and uncontrollable force invades the soul. Then its expression changed. Become cute close to King Lin. King Lin also felt from the green snake's 6 flower pupils that he seemed to have complete control over the snake in front of him. Not afraid anymore. The most important thing is that the snake in front of him becomes so cute in his eyes. He stretched out his hand and stroked the head of the two-headed fire snake. One in each hand. Very nice. Hey, brother, I feel that he is mine now, King Lin said. On the foreheads of the two-headed fire spirit snakes, a pattern with green snakes and 6 flowered pupils appeared. The other party's eyes also changed, with the mark of this pattern appearing. Immediately afterwards, a magical scene appeared. The aura on the two-headed fire spirit snake suddenly soared. The huge lines of the green snake's 6 flowered pupils appeared behind it. The huge snake has black lines all over its body. The breath reaches the 5th level peak. Then he stepped into the 6th level in one fell swoop. In other words, the current two-headed fire spirit snake is a 6th level monster. A 6th level monster is equivalent to a powerful human fighting emperor. Fighting emperor. Zijin was extremely shocked. Turning his head, King Lin looked at the two-headed fire spirit snake. This is really incredible. Not only can you control snakes, but you can also improve their cultivation. Good guy, is this the power of the 6 flowered pupils of the blue snake? Huang Wei's eyes glowed with light, as if he had discovered a new world. In the original work, the original green snake with 3 flower pupils could not do this. See if you can create a space in the pupil to accommodate it, Huang Wei said. In this case, you will have a Dao Huang to protect you, and I feel that your jade snake 6 flower pupils are far more than this ability, because It appears for the first time. There is a lot of potential to be developed. The blue scaled eyes looked at the two-headed fire spirit snake again. After a space is opened. The huge body of the two-headed fire spirit snake shrunk like this. Was taken in. That's when. King Lin was dizzy. Feeling weak. He closed his eyes and fell down. Green scales. Huang Wei and Zijin immediately supported him. It seems that the opening up of space and the upgrading of magical beasts have brought huge consumption to the power of his soul. Huang Wei used the power of his soul to discover the truth about King Lin's coma. The opponent's soul power was consumed too much. Becoming so weak now. He waved his hand gently. A space crack appeared in front of King Lin. A figure fell directly in. Zijin knows where this leads. It was that magical world where time passed quickly, and my own children were also there. After all, he had been in there too. Let's go back to the snake people. Huang Wei said to Zijin. After leaving the cave, Zijin transformed into his true body. Huang Wei rode her directly back to the snake tribe. Time passes quickly. Medusa has already united the entire snake race. Under the leadership of Huang Wei, they quickly moved directly towards the Jama Empire. The mercenaries encountered this scene on the way. He was so frightened that he hid immediately. Is this snake tribe going to be relocated? The mercenaries watching furtively took a breath of air. He looked very scared. So much quantity. In that direction is the Gamma Empire again. Are you planning to enter the Jama Empire? This is a big melon. So I turned around and went back to tell the leader the news. The figures of Huang Wei, Zijin, Bibi Dong, Medusa, and the little medical fairy first arrived at the sky above the imperial capital of Gamma Holy City as quickly as possible. Feel the arrival of this terrible breath. Yao Hei Blue Dragon woke up instantly. Dao Wang and Dao Huang in the Jama Empire appeared one after another, including the Yunlin sect, and others on Yunlin Mountain also discovered something strange. What? A terrifying aura, all heading towards the holy city of Gamma. It's not the breath of a monster, it's the breath of a human being. It's so scary. There are so many people. Why go to the holy city of Gamma? Could it be that the old guy over there has provoked someone? Someone else wants to come over and destroy the Gamma Empire. The expressions of these powerful warriors in the Yunlin sect, as well as the sect leader Yun Yun, all changed. Sect master, should we go over and take a look? Yun Suo asked immediately. This aura is so terrifying. It surpasses Dao Huang, so it must be the rumored Dao Zhang. Even if we went there we wouldn't be able to help. In a short period of time, we will close the sect tightly to protect ourselves and order the disciples not to leave the sect. Otherwise we will bear the consequences. Yun Yun thought for a while, but for the sake of the overall situation, she directly issued this order. Anyway, the Yunlin sect and the Gamma royal family were not at odds with each other. Yunlin sect did not provoke the other party. There is no need to pay for his actions. Yes. The others breathed a sigh of relief. If Yun Yun really wants them to go there together, then it's really over. They don't know that if the other party fights, they, the fighting kings, can only become cannon fodder. The strong men of Daozan are so terrifying. Chapter 233. Eating branded poison. Just when he once again set foot in the sky of Gamma Holy City. The system's voice came from Huang Wei's mind. Ding. Please host cultivate a force of your own. You can reward the power pavilion. This pavilion contains various exercises, fighting skills, secrets, and weapons, elixirs, alchemy techniques and other items. You can unlock them according to the requirements, and they can only be used by bound members of the same power. After hearing this long lost voice, Huang Wei's eyes suddenly shone with wonderful light. System, you are really awesome. It just so happens that I also have a dream to develop my own strength. Huang Wei was extremely excited, so I accepted this task. What a terrible fighting spirit. An absolutely powerful person has come to the Jama Empire. Within the capital of Jama Empire. All the strong men were shocked. Jia Xingshan, Farma, Yu Hei in human form and the other Dao Wang, Tengshan, Melanji, Muzan, Guhi and others appeared again. Among them, Melanji is still playing injured. Although there is also the Daowang realm in terms of cultivation. But in terms of strength, he is not as strong as before because of his own poison. After all, he is called Martial Lionheart. The fighting power is Very fierce. The few people who came out saw the group of people in front of them. First he was stunned. Then they saw the man coming from the opposite side. It's a familiar face. Immediately the heavy mind calmed down. Among these people, they only knew Huang Wei. But Farmer and Jia Zingshan couldn't help but focus on the young man with the blue figure. The eyes aura on this person made them feel very familiar, like an old buddy. It's just that the other person looks to be in his 30s. It shouldn't be that guy Hayboden. It's just that this guy is wearing the same clothes as Hayboden. He is even exactly the same as Hayboden when he was young. Suddenly they recalled Huang Wei's terrifying gift of life energy. If this is the case, then the blue young figure in front of you is probably the long lost Ice Emperor Bibi Dong. But now the opponent does not have fighting spirit transformed into wings. None of the people who followed Huang Wei had wings of Dao Qi. As for the little medical fairy, with the help of Huang Wei, he can float. They all Dao Zhang, or maybe Dao Zun. Thinking of this, Farmer and Jia Zingshan looked at Yuhei in unison. This is Alexander. How terrible. Is this the appeal of Dao Zun? Your Majesty, I wonder what you have to give me this time. Jia Zingshan immediately stepped forward and raised his hands, asking. Yaohe also came to the front and was polite. Huang Wei said directly, this time I come here for two things. The first thing, I plan to create a force and invite you to join. The headquarters of the force is here. You can get the opportunity to step into the Dao Zhang. The Dao Huang can break through the Dao Huang. Go on in order. Huang Wei said lightly. After hearing this, everyone present suddenly felt their hearts skip a beat. Opportunity to fight against the sect. Farmer and Jia Zingshan took a deep breath and became excited. In the face of absolute strength, if you don't have the ability to resist, you can only join. And after they join, they can also get the blessing of a Dao Zun and so many Dao Zhang. The Jia Ma Empire will become even more powerful. Your Majesty, I'm willing. Jia Zingshan said directly. We do too. The rest of the people also agreed immediately. This is a huge temptation. Your Majesty, I have something to ask of you. Suddenly, a person spoke. Malin G. Their eyes looked over and locked on the owner of that voice. It was Malin G. They all understood what Malin G was looking for. It's nothing more than a matter of branding poison. Huang Wei smiled slightly and said, speak. He knows the other party's purpose. But the other person needs to take the initiative to say it. Malin G immediately said, please help me, Your Majesty. Malin G told what happened that year. So, I was poisoned by that guy, and I'm now in deep torture. Only strange fire can solve it. I wonder if Your Majesty has a way to solve it? After listening to Malin G's words, Huang Wei just smiled slightly. He raised his hand and said, simple. King Lian's inner fire burst out. Exotic fire. Everyone was shocked. Especially the alchemists Furukawa and Farmer have a natural desire for strange fire. It's just that this strange fire belongs to Your Majesty, and they wouldn't dare to snatch it, even if they had 100,000 courages. Otherwise, I won't even know how to die. Extraordinary fire. It's really an alien fire. Great. I'm saved. Malin G laughed and was very excited. The next moment, Huang Wei was seen arriving in front of him instantly. She pressed her palms against his chest. In an instant, Zizi, feel the burning pain in your chest. Malin G started screaming and wailing. His fingers twitched, and his face was distorted. It looks very painful. But the next moment, a magical scene appeared. The pain and discomfort caused by the poison in his chest disappeared quickly. After getting it done, Huang Wei returned to his original position. Looking at the branded poison in his hand, he threw it directly to the little medical fairy. It will be a great tonic for you. The little medical fairy immediately took it. Ever since he absorbed the head soul bone. Now she no longer has to worry about the accumulation of toxins in her body. And the poisonous body of his own calamity is also under control. It's just that the evil poisonous body is still in a sleeping seal. After Huang Wei found the materials, he refined the elixir and gave it to her. Completely opened the seal of sleep. Your cultivation level can soar instantly. Become a real sky poison girl. The little medical fairy looked at the branded poison in her hand with great desire. The next moment, under the eyes of everyone, he opened his mouth and ate it. Gilu. This voice was not only made by the little medical fairy, but also by Jia Zingshan and others. especially Melanji, who had been tortured by the poison for a long time. Just because he knows how terrible poison is, so now the face is richer than anyone else and more terrifying than anyone else. This little girl. He actually ate the poison. Who is this guy? Sure enough, no one who can follow your majesty is normal. This time, these people have this crazy idea in their minds. Chapter 234. The little doctor's food was delicious. This branding poison is indeed a great tonic for her. I couldn't help but burp after eating. All the toxins generated in the body gathered on the head soul bone at this moment. The head soul bone possesses a very terrifying skill. It can continuously and even permanently accumulate toxins and finally burst out with the most powerful blow. The object being shot will be poisoned or even die directly from the poison. And it's still a poison that has no cure. If this poison is to be removed, perhaps only extreme cold and extreme heat can remove it again. If the realm is not high, you will not be able to survive until that time. Even for a short time, or even for a long time, no one will know about the detoxification materials after all. This is a mixed poison. Chapter 274. The unnamed sector powerful aura spread out from the little medical fairy's body. The expressions of Jia Xingchen and others changed again. I paid attention before, but didn't notice the other part is cultivation level. Because of Huang Wei's presence. The force in the darkness covered it. These people have not discovered the realm of the little medical fairy. But now it has exploded. 1-star great fighter. Correct. Now the little medical fairy is a 1-star fighting master. Just now she was a 9-star fighter. But now because of swallowing the poison. The cultivation level directly broke through the mirror and reached the level of 1-star great fighting master. It's really terrible. Moreover, the little medical fairy's original cultivation level was also due to absorbing the soul bone from his head. The preliminary control over the disaster poison body has improved. It had such a powerful effect initially. If you have complete control. Then the cultivation level will soar to a terrifying height. A 1-star fighting master at this age is really scary. Jia Xingchen and others took a breath of air. They were all amazed and shocked by the talent of the little girl in front of them. Sure enough, there is no simple group of people who can follow your majesty. At this moment, there is another person who is happy. That is Melanji. I have been tortured by the poison for so long. The poison has now been removed. His strength only needs to be cultivated for a period of time. It can return to its heyday. You saw your power. Thank you, your majesty, for your life-saving grace. Melanji quickly handed over his hands and said with great respect, from now on, my life is yours. Okay. Huang Wei waved his hand. Now the first thing is done. The second thing is that you must be familiar with this person. She is Medusa, the queen of the snake people. She is also one of mine now. If you join my command, we will be a family in the future. So about the habitat of the snake people. Regarding the ground, do you have a suitable place to spare in Jia Xingchen? Huang Wei pointed his gaze at Medusa. Since you are Medusa, why can't I detect the aura of monster on your body? Did you take the transformation pill? Jia Xingchen and others were shocked. She is also a Daozang, and her Elm aura is higher than mine. She is probably like a 3-star Daozang. Yao Hei spoke beside Jia Xingchen. These words shocked them again. Jia Xingchen was silent. Since now they are following your majesty. Then the territory of the snake people must be divided within the Jia Empire. Jia Xingchen looked at Medusa and said, snake people can't harm humans. If humans keep themselves in trouble, that's fine. But the same goes for the snake people. Everything about the other party must have a great relationship with your majesty. Okay. Medusa agreed. Her purpose from beginning to end was to find a place for the snake people to settle down. Don't be reluctant. The entire northwest continent will soon be ours, and the surrounding empires have no intention of letting it go. Huang Wei smiled. Let's go inside the palace and have a detailed chat. Without waiting for anyone to react, He flew directly towards the Gamma Palace in front of him. But Jia Zingshan was extremely excited. If this is the case, then the territory of the entire Jia Empire will be unprecedentedly large. Everyone followed. Inside the palace. Huang Wei should be the first. The following acts sit in sequence. Huang Wei introduced them to Bibi Dong, Zijin and the little medical fairy. Medusa and the others will not be introduced, since they already know each other. Of course, Bibi Dong and the purple gold-winged Lion King also knew each other. It's just that this new form is relatively unfamiliar now. Meeting ancient people has a special flavor. They all envied Bibi Dong's opportunities. He became younger and became a one-star Daozang. This is the benefit of following your majesty. Bibi Dong didn't hide it either. Straight up flattery. Tell these guys that everything they have now is given by your majesty. The same goes for the purple gold-winged Lion King. The little medical fairy is Huang Wei's apprentice. Naturally, they also attach great importance to it. The other party is also an alchemist. This is even more powerful. The palace became lively. Especially Bibi Dong talked eloquently with them. Medusa was under the leadership of Jia Zingshan. In an area of the Jia Empire where there is no human activity. Found a suitable habitat for the snake people. So she returned and brought the snake tribe group that had arrived from another direction quietly without disturbing other groups of people. Afterwards, an order was issued not to attack the humans here. Of course, if you are a human looking for trouble, you can tie him down depending on the situation. Things are different now, so you still have to think carefully before doing things. The snake people began to work. This area is very large. There's forest, there's water, and it's humid. Fighting spirit is also very good. Now I want to set up a barrier, otherwise the people inside will come out. No one from outside can enter either. Moreover, Dao Wang and Dao Huang of the snake tribe also took the transformation pill. Followed Medusa to the palace meeting. Everyone got to know each other again. I didn't expect the previous enemy. Now we will face each other in this scene. What's even more ridiculous is that we will still be a family in the future. What shocked Jia Zingshan and others the most was that there were so many fighting kings and fighting kings in the snake people. Even those 4 are still 9-star peak fighting emperors. If they really attack the Jia Empire collectively, this is an unprecedented crisis. Fine. Now it's time to sit down and talk. Your Majesty, what is the name of our force? At this time, Furukawa asked. The others were also curious. Chapter 235. The same goes for Bibi Dong. Huang Wei clicked his fingers. This question had been on their minds when they were just cheering and talking. In fact, you don't need to be too awesome. Just plain and simple is fine. Its development now. After it develops, it will shock the entire central continent. The unnamed sect, Huang Wei is a waste who wants a name. Finally, I racked my brains and came up with a lot of names. They are all things he doesn't like. In the end, just call it by this name. Good name. Bibi Dong slapped his thigh and shouted. This startled the others. Look towards Bibi Dong. This guy is just sucking up. But yes, what a name, Your Majesty. This Wooming sect is really a good name. It looks ordinary, but it gives people an inexplicable intimidation. Jia Zingshan and others also followed closely and started to flatter him. Ha ha ha. You think it sounds good too? Then, our sect will be called Wooming Sect. The members are you for now, and there will be more in the future. On the surface, it will continue to be the Gamma Empire. We, the nameless sect, are hiding in the dark. When the time comes, I will find a place and open up a small world. That will be our base. Now that we are all a family, it's time for me to give you some benefits. In these bags are the pills you need, as well as the emperor breaking pill materials that you Dao Wangs need to break through the Dao Huang. After collecting them, you can find me to refine them. As he spoke, Huang Wei waved his hand. Several rays of light flew directly towards the crowd. They are fiery. I picked it up immediately. Huang Wei planned to train these people into Daozan first. Thank you for your gift. Chapter 275 God Realm Center Upgrade. Godhead Gift Pack soon. Huang Wei found a space suitable for opening up a small world point. In fact, according to his current state of only 2-star Daozun, it is not enough to open up space point, create a small world where people can live point. That must at least be related to the holy word point. However, he can indeed use the armor spirit space point. There is also the role of the godhead. For now, only those who mark his god's position can be allowed in. Therefore, each of these high-level officials of the Wuming sect needs to be engraved with Godhead. It seems that many people in the God realm can retire early. When Huang Wei thought about this problem, he immediately thought of the center of the God realm. So he didn't need to do it at all. Just engrave Godheads on those people. Even if you have not completed the assessment, you can still enter. So his soul fell silent in the Jialing space point. The world has become so big and vast. In this world, he is an invincible existence point. So with his thoughts, he planned to draw a boundary again point. This realm combines with reality with the help of his Zuanwu heart, and the power of mysterious runes can be displayed outside point. After everything is settled point, Huang Wei came back point. At the same time, the system has sounded a reminder that the task has been completed point. Rewards have been distributed point. Huang Wei extracted it from the system warehouse point. Placed within this area point, a large pavilion is revealed. Mailed it. Huang Wei entered it point. There is a whole world here point. Huang Wei looked at it point. Kung fu, fighting skills, secret books, weapons, elixirs, natural materials and earthly treasures. Huang Wei checked it point. After entering here point, the power pavilion will make the most appropriate choice based on each person's different characteristics. Just need that person to come in here point. After clicking on the item, just wait for a while point. According to the previous system prompts, he knew that this would increase with the overall strength of the sect point. The stronger it is, the more things there are in it. Even more powerful point. Quality is strong point. It's okay if the quantity is small point. Huang Wei thought back to the current high level officials in the sect point. The number of Dao Wang, Dao Huang and Dao Zhang point. There are currently 9 fighting kings in total point. There are 7 Dao Huangs. There are 3 Dao Zhangs. Dao Zhang 1 point. Finally, there are the little medical fairy and King Lin point. There were 22 people in total point. People who currently own gods. Zijin, Bibi Dong point. There are still 20 left point, and the Yunlin sect has not been added yet point. There are also many fighting kings in Yunlin sect. Dao Huang has Yunnan point. As for the peak fighting emperor, it is also Yunshan point. So he needed to get there before the people from the Soul Palace took action point. Pull Yunshan and Yunlin sect into Wuming sect point. As for the Eagle Protector from the Soul Palace point, when he dares to come, Huang Wei can devour him point. As long as his hands and feet are clean point, the people in the Soul Palace will not know point. After all, the Eagle Protector is just a Dao Zhang in front of the huge force of the Soul Palace point. In fact, he is not an important person at all point. When it disappears, Huang Wei thought for a moment point. Sit cross-legged point. I plan to first obtain a skill book suitable for me in this power pavilion point soon. The power pavilion began to analyze point. Shen Wu Yanju point. An enlightenment came directly to me point. As for fighting skills and weapon secrets, he also got a copy point. After learning point, Huang Wei left on the way. He looked for the center of the God realm point and contacted many gods. He called the men together again point. Grant these divinities to them point. At the same time as he improves, new gods were also born in the center of the divine world. Congratulations to the host for taking this step, inheriting divine power to people from another world. Congratulations to the host for receiving a gift package of divine power. The center of the God realm has been upgraded to 1 level. With this sudden sound, Chapter 236. It really brought Huang Wei timely help. This is really a sudden surprise. As the center of the God realm rose to a level, in an instant, there was a buzzing sound. A ray of light appeared on Huang Wei's body. His realm was directly upgraded to the 3-star Dao Zun, and his realm is still improving. 4-star Dao Zun, 5-element fighting master. Only after reaching this state did he stop. He immediately looked inside the divine realm within his body. The God realm has become even larger at this moment, and the energy within it seems to be infinite. The center of the God realm is even more energetic. With the upgrade, The gods who were born were directly upgraded to the first level of gods. Those original godheads were also directly upgraded by 1 level. The God King was promoted to God Emperor. All first level gods enter the God King. All second level gods will become first level gods. All the third level gods have entered the second level gods. Priests and patrol gods are also advancing one after another. The entire divine world is sublimating. Many new gods continue to be born in the center of the god realm. Huang Wei click to open the godhead gift package. The godhead at the level of the 10 god kings appears. There are also gods under the jurisdiction of the god king also appear. The emergence of these godheads this completely solved Huang Wei's urgent need. He did not hesitate to directly inject these divine attributes into the current center of the God realm. With the emergence of these powerful godheads, the power given to the center of the divine world is even more powerful. Now, I'm not afraid that I won't have enough godhead status. Huang Wei smiled evilly. He had a thought. Contact these divine beings. Try to enter that unknown realm. That realm is called the Nameless Realm. That power pavilion was also named Wombing Pavilion. After everyone goes in, everyone got a book exclusive to them with their own skills and fighting skills. And there are mission items in Wombing Pavilion. They can receive tasks, get mission points. These quest points have many useful uses. Those who are looking for medicinal herbs, go and look for them. The one who convenes the people convenes early the next morning. Huang Wei rode the purple gold winged lion king to Yunlin sect. Within the Yunlin sect, everyone feels like they are facing a formidable enemy. They all became nervous. Looking at the huge monster in the sky, everyone swallowed. How could it be possible? It's so terrible. What kind of monster is this? Are there any inside or outside the Jama Empire? Why does it feel a bit similar to the amethyst winged lion king? The Yunlin sect's voice trembled, his eyes widened, and his expression was filled with fear. The trembling in their bodies made them uncontrollably surrender and kneel down. Because that smell is so terrible. Especially those Daowang elders, they had experienced the peak fighting power of the old sect leader of Yunshan. This is even more terrifying than the 9-star peak fighting emperor. It is conceivable that it is probably Daozang. This must be the group that went to Gamma Holy City before. They thought a huge war would break out. But I have been waiting to no avail. Zijin transformed into a human form. At this moment, Dan King Furukawa also appeared behind him. Huang Wei also appeared. 2 figures walked through the air, and 1 figure turned into wings with fighting energy, which was a bit out of character, since Elder Furukawa is among them. They were startled. At this time, Yun had already flown into the sky. The other Daowang followed closely behind. I wonder why your excellency came to our Yunlin sect. Yun took the lead and looked at the young man in front of her and asked. Anyone who is not a fool can see it. The 3 people in front of me, the other 2 respected the young man as their leader. It can be seen in his behavior and position. Yun is really beautiful. Seeing this person, Huang Wei sighed inwardly. Chapter 276 Inviting Yunlin sect to join Yun Shuo, Yun Du, Yun Chap, Yun Fan, Yun. At present, the Yunlin sect is in charge of the affairs inside and outside the Yunlin sect, except for Yunshan, which cannot be left in seclusion. The first 4 are even more powerful at the Daowang level, extremely powerful and terrifying in the eyes of outsiders. As for Yun, she is a Daohuang in the early stage. It should be like being in Samsung Daohuang currently. Her talent in the original work is also very amazing in the northwest region. Reaching the realm of Daohuang at such a young age. Even in Zhongzhou, there are many people who cannot do it. Not to mention the resource barren land in this northwest region. I wonder what business you have come to our Yunlin sect. The Yunlin sect doesn't seem to have any sins against someone as tyrannical as you, right, Yun? Yun's voice is very light and pleasant. At this moment, she frowned, very puzzled. But one thing is certain. There must be something going on with this person's arrival. Because even their honorary elder Koga was following behind. The 4 elders also looked at Furukawa. I want to read some information from my eyes. Furukawa was constantly reminding them with his eyes. I'm deeply afraid that these people will anger each other. At that time, no one could save him. Sect Master Yun, let me introduce you to you. This is the leader of our Wombing sect. He is a genuine Daozun strongman. Naturally, I have something to talk to you about when I come here this time. Furukawa glanced at Huang Wei, who was silent, and immediately took a step forward and introduced him first. We, the Wuming sect, strong. Daozun, Yun. Yun and the other 5 were shocked when they heard this, and then their expressions changed drastically. At first they thought the other party was Daozun. And Daozun is already very scary, unexpectedly, since he is still Daozun above Daozun. You know, only the founder of their Yunlan sect, Yun Pio Shan, is a strong Daozun, and since then, it has not appeared again. In these generations, even Daozun is a luxury. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237. To some extent, Yunlan sect has already declined. As for the Wuming sect, they have never heard of it. Now for the first time. But using Daozun, it means that this sect is definitely not from the northwest region. It's from somewhere else. The most important thing is, what does it mean? Has Furukawa already joined the Wuming sect? But when you think about it, it's completely normal. After all, the other party is Daozun. Moreover, Furukawa is a 6th grade alchemist. But very popular. You must have been invited in. Your Excellency Daozun, I didn't know you were coming. Please forgive me, sir. What are you doing here? Yun immediately lowered her posture, without the strong feeling she had just now. I'm a Dao Huang, but I'm an ant in front of Daozun. Although he is the leader of a sect, if the other party is unhappy. It is very easy to destroy Yunlan sect. It would be of no use, even if her master left seclusion. Huang Wei laughed and said, Sect Master Yun, you don't have to be like this. I came here this time mainly for one thing, and secondly for one thing. The first thing is that I want the Yunlan sect to become a member of my Wuming sect, just like the Gamma Royal family. The Wuming sect has just been established, and there are vacancies. The next second, Huang Wei directly stated this important thing. Hearing this, Yun and the other 5 narrowed their eyes slightly, and their expressions darkened. This doesn't seem to be much of a surprise. Now that the Gamma Royal family has joined this nameless sect. And since this Wuming sect is still a sect founded obediently. Yun thought for a moment and then spoke. Your Excellency Daozun, I'm afraid I will disappoint you. We are not qualified to decide the fate of the Yunlan sect, and my teacher still needs to make the decision. 4. Yun, this is a very hot taro. If it is not controlled well, it may bring them an invincible enemy. Really? Huang Wei smiled. But for some reason, Yun Suo and others felt chills on their backs and cold sweat flowed from their foreheads. Who gave them the courage to refuse the invitation of a powerful warrior in person? Dao Huang, Fighting King, isn't this asking for death? Sect Master, how about we ask the old Sect Master to come out? Yun Suo swallowed, and his voice was not smooth, and trembled after he finished speaking. Come on. My second thing is to find your old Sect Master Yunshin, so let him come out and meet me. As long as he joins the Wuming sect, I, Chengruo, will give him a sect breaking pill, to help him break the Emperor, and become a sect. Become a genuine 1-star Daozun. Huang Wei downplayed it. But in the ears of the 5 Yun people, it had a different flavor. Broken. Zhangdan. They gasped. Pio Zhangdan. This adds a huge winning rate to the Daozang. Everyone is a coveted treasure. Of course, you guys can also get a Yuan building pill that I personally refined. This pill has the effect of strengthening your foundation and cultivating your yuan, improving or even changing your current cultivation qualifications. Today's state will no longer be the end, Huang Wei said, but in the ears of these people, it was something very attractive and tempting. Your Excellency Daozun, please give us some time to summon the old sect master. We have no problem with your Excellency Daozun's request. The 4 Yunso people immediately expressed their opinions. Yun just looked at these 4 people with complicated eyes. But she also understood that the situation was over now, and finally sighed. Your Excellency Daozun, I have a question. Speak. Huang Wei said. Yun asked, after Yunlan sect joins Wuming sect, can it be given a famous name? Huang Wei smiled slightly. The Wuming sect will be hidden in the dark. On the bright side, neither the Gamma Empire nor the Yunlin sect need to change their names. As long as your senior officials know that they are from the Wuming sect, it will be enough to provide good services to the Wuming sect. My Ozzy, you will also receive huge benefits. I understand. Yun Yun breathed a sigh of relief when she heard this. Huang Wei's current format point, it is exactly like a large group controlling a small company point. The name is still the original company name, but the real person behind the scenes has long been the big group behind the scenes. The Wuming sect is a sect with existence and behind the scenes. When the time is right, it will be born and shock the entire continent. Let the people in Daoqi continent know. It turns out that in addition to the 8 ancient tribes in Daoqi continent, there is such a tyrannical sect hidden. Huang Wei owns a system. He owns the Wuming pavilion point. Full of confidence, we must make this large group bigger and stronger and create greater glory. Yun Yun said, my master is in retreat. It will take some time to go and invite him. During this time, how many of you would like to invite me to sit and wait in the sect master's hall? Okay. Huang Wei nodded. Yun Yun flew directly towards the depths of Yunlin sect. Yun So and others carefully led Huang and Wei in. Entered the sect master's hall. It's very spacious here. Huang Wei sat down in one of the seats. There was no move to take the main seat. Chapter 277. Yun Shen comes out of seclusion. The temptation of Po Zongdan in the main hall. Yun Suo and others immediately ordered the best tea to be served to Huang and Wei. They waited here for a while. Here, it suddenly became quiet. The atmosphere also became weird. The 4 Yunso people always felt that the atmosphere was very depressing. I don't know if it's because of the heat or something. Hot sweat was pouring out from his forehead. But they dare not wipe it. Staying with Huang and Wei, the 3 of them always feel so depressed. Huang Wei took the tea and tasted it carefully, then said, if you have anything you want to ask, you can ask me. Now that I have time, I can answer it for you one by one. From now on, we will all be a family. Now that everyone has spoken. This quiet atmosphere needs some excitement. Your Majesty, I wonder how many real members our Wuming sect has now. So, Yunso asked directly. His choice of words here is very good. That's sus. This also means that their hearts are now intentionally towards Huang Wei and the Wuming sect. No matter what, the appeal and attraction of an alchemist or Daozun is very powerful. How many people want such treatment? But how many people are expected to be out of reach? Now they are attracted by Huang Wei. That was their great honor. Huang Wei said. 22. If you are included, there will be 28. As for the remaining numbers, there is no statistics. For the time being, the number is mainly based on the high-level people, supplemented by the forces led by each high-level person. Later, let them go figure it out yourself. The principle is the same as the inner door and the outer door. Hearing this, the 4 elders of Yunzhou immediately understood. To put it simply, people from the inner sect are more important. The people at the outer door are less important. It sounds really heartbreaking. But this is reality. But fortunately, they were lucky enough to be chosen as the inner gate. So they will seize this opportunity. He immediately expressed his position and said, don't worry, Your Majesty, even if the old sect leader disagrees, we will try our best to persuade him. Don't worry, he will definitely agree, and his attitude will be more positive than yours. After all, no one can resist the temptation of Po Zongdan and Daozang realm. Upon hearing this, Huang Wei was very satisfied with the positive statements of these 4 people, and then said evilly. He picked up the teacup on the side and drank again at the same time. Yun Yun had arrived under a mountain peak deep in Yunlin sect. It's like an abyss here. Bottomless. Yun Yun's fighting spirit turned into wings and quickly fell along the mountain peak. Soon I found a hidden cave in the cliff wall. Chapter 238. This cave exudes an inexplicable sense of oppression. After all, there is a powerful person who is considered to be the 9-star peak Dao Huang level hidden inside. Arriving in front of the cave, he restrained his wings of fighting spirit. Yun Yun performed a courtesy and said, Teacher, this disciple needs to ask you something. This is related to the entire Yunlin sect. And teacher, whether you can successfully break through the Daozang Although her voice was light, it was particularly loud in this quiet environment, and with the increased fighting spirit point when Yun Yun's red lips spit out a sound, the fighting spirit will be specially enhanced for it point. He also controlled his fighting spirit and directed it toward the secret room behind the stone door of the cave in front of him point. Inside, Yun Shangsun, who was in seclusion and worried about how to break through Daozang, looked distressed and frustrated point. But suddenly I heard this coming voice point. His whole body was shaken point. When you begin to hear the voice of the sermon point, he was also very confused as to why his precious apprentice Yun Yun came back to him at this time point. Unless Yunlin sect faces a big crisis, only then will he come out of seclusion point. But after hearing what Yun Yun said point, Yunshin opened his eyes instantly point. A ray of excitement bloomed. A major event to break through Daozang. He simply forgot about the previous content and focused on the word Daozang at the back point. But he frowned and murmured, I have been thinking hard for so long, and I have tried several times, but failed to break through. How could Juna possibly have any idea? Did she find something? What did she find? Thinking of this, Yunshin felt that he needed to seize this opportunity point. He stood up and planned to go out and take a look before making any plans. After Yun Yun finished speaking, she waited outside for a while point. Soon I saw movement coming from the stone gate ahead point. The stone door slowly opened point. A tall man with familiar long hair and blue and white robes walked out. Master. Yun Yun immediately bowed and called point. Yunshin walked out slowly and immediately asked, have you found a way to break through Daozang? His voice is very easygoing and not as cold as in the original work point. After all, he had already been influenced by the Eagle Protector at that time point. The whole person also became ghostly point. If the Eagle Guardian hadn't interfered, Yunshin would actually be a very good person point. Yun Yun answered immediately. She did not dare to neglect. Master, just now a strong Daosan came to our Yunlin sect and wanted Yunlin sect to join his sect and promised to give a Daozang bill and help you break through and become a 1-star Daozang. Yun Yun paused and then said, and he is also an alchemist. He promised to provide us with resources for elixirs. What? Daozang? When Yunshin heard this, his eyes widened, his expression changed drastically, and he took a breath of air. When he just heard these two words, his heart stopped for a moment. There was no way these two words had a great impact on him. Yes, Daozang. Yun Yun nodded and then continued to speak point, hiding the plans of Huang Wei and the Wuming sect behind the scenes. The affairs of the Yunlin sect and the Jama Empire were also revealed publicly point. Upon hearing this, Yunshin took a big breath point. After sorting out his thoughts, he said, does this guy want to rule the Northwest region? No matter if he doesn't ask Yunlin sect to change its name, there is no problem with these conditions. Even if he wants Yunlin sect to change its name, it is not a problem. Piozandan, Daozang, this is a enough price. Even if the name is changed, I will do my best to talk to him and see if I can leave a Yunlin pavilion or Yunlin hall in the Wuming sect. Yunshin's words also reduced the great guilt in Yun Yun's heart point. I felt very relaxed in an instant point. Yunshin looked at Yun Yun and asked, where is this powerful Daozang man now? I need to see him in person. Yun immediately said, we are waiting for your arrival in the sect master's hall with the 4 elders. Yun Suo. Let's go. We can't keep this gentleman waiting any longer. Yunshin's expression changed slightly, and then he said with an excited smile, so the two of them turned their fighting energy into wings, left this cliff, and flew quickly towards the sect leader's hall point. Soon they arrived at the sect master's hall point. As soon as they entered the door, they heard the laughing chatter in the sect master's hall point. It seems that both parties have reached an agreement point. Seeing the arrival of Yunshin and Yun Yun point, Yun Suo immediately stood up to greet him. Old sect leader, you are out of seclusion. Chapter 278. Yunshin breaks through Daozang. Yunshin waved his hand and motioned for them all to sit down point. Then his eyes swept to the left point. His eyes fell on two of the unknown people point. From what Yun Yun said just now point, that Daozang is very young and a man point. Then there is only that person point. Yunshin's eyes were fixed on Huang Wei point. To his surprise point, this man has no fighting spirit at all point. A completely ordinary person point. Is this the restrained effect of reaching the realm of Daozang, or is the level difference too big for him to sense? Master, this is the lord my disciple just mentioned. Yun immediately stepped forward and took the lead in answering Yunshan's questions. What she pointed at with her 5 fingers was none other than Huang Wei. Your Majesty, it is truly our great honor to have your Majesty come to our Yunlin sect. Yunshin was very satisfied with Yun's sudden action. A smile appeared on his face, and he immediately bowed his hands to Huang Wei. Master Yunshin, please sit down, let's discuss the most important things. Huang Wei smiled slightly and said after returning the gift. Yunshin nodded and immediately sat down on the main seat. Yun was sitting below. Huang Wei said, presumably Sect Master Yun has informed the old Sect Master Yunshin about the things and conditions I mentioned. Yes, I already know. Your Majesty is also full of sincerity. Naturally, we cannot wipe the letter. My desire to break through the Daozang is huge. There is no hope of breaking through in seclusion. Now that I have a rare opportunity, I will not give up. Yunshin's words are also an expression of attitude. Huang Wei smiled with satisfaction. Old Sect Master Yunshin, don't worry, I will not break my promise. You can get the benefits first. As he spoke, he waved his hand. A pill that exuded a unique light slowly floated out. A very strong fragrance of elixir fills the entire hall. It smells so good. Is this the Piozang pill? Everyone swallowed, their eyes shining with desire and excitement. Huang Wei, yes, this is Piozang Dan. This elixir is under the eyes of everyone. Slowly drifting towards the front of Yunshin. Yunshin quickly stretched out his hand and grabbed it tightly. I was afraid that this precious elixir would escape. The moment you smell the elixir, the shackles inside his body were faintly loosened. You can't go wrong with this one. His hands were shaking. Unbelievable. Your Majesty, can I eat it now? Yunshin asked impatiently. Huang Wei, yes, I will protect you personally. Okay. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Yunshin will definitely do his best to complete your mission. Strengthen the Wuming sect. Yun Shan had a serious look on his face and immediately handed over his hand, vowing to do so. I feel your feelings. Huang Wei smiled with satisfaction. He has always been very generous to his own people. Yunshin was no longer polite. He swallowed the Piozang pill under the eyes of everyone. Just sit cross-legged and activate the fighting energy to activate the skills to speed up absorption. Seeing this scene, Huang Wei waved his hand gently. An energy barrier appears. In fact, Huang Wei doesn't need to bother at all. With his medicine refining skills that are now close to the 9th level, and his cultivation of 5-element fighting master, as long as he wants to, after establishing the Wuming sect, he can go directly to the Canon Academy area or other places to recruit those who are originally Daozang, and even win over Daozan. But Huang Wei doesn't want to be too public at the moment. Chapter 239. He hopes to play this dark horse game from a young age to a big one. Those who cultivate themselves are better. When Yunshin broke through. Huang Wei was searching in his mind for a god that suited him. There are still a few people working on it. Just accept the deity. Then there will be a mark on that person's forehead. Now he, Zijin and Furukawa have them. Furukawa's arrival is actually to persuade Yunshin and others to join the Wuming sect. Because their relationship is their point. But now it seems like it doesn't matter whether he comes or not. Because the chips and strength are sufficient. Time passes quickly. A few hours pass quickly. At this time. A strong aura erupted from Yunshin's body. Except for Huang and Wei, the others looked shocked. This is the aura of Daozang. Yun said in shock. As a ray of light fell. There was a qualitative change in Yunshin's aura. Take one step forward and become a 1-star Daozang. The whole person just walked through the air and floated in mid-air. Daozang. It is indeed Daozang. Yunshin woke up, looked at the changes in his body, and murmured, his face extremely excited. I'm so happy. Ha ha ha. I finally broke through and became a Daozang. Yunshin laughed and couldn't help shouting. His voice spread throughout the Yunlin sect. The disciples of Yunlin sect were all amazed. A girl who was practicing at the moment walked in from the door. This person is none other than Alan Yanran. I went to Zhao's house to break off the engagement. Unexpectedly, he was backhanded by the other party. 30 years in Hedon and 30 years in Hexi. Do not bully the young man into being poor. And he was finally divorced. It's really infuriating. But for a 3-year agreement. She has to practice extremely hard. I vowed to do it in 3 years under the gaze of everyone in Yunlin sect. Defeat Xiao Yan fiercely. Step on it. Let the other person know. Waste is waste. There is no time for waste to rise. Xiao Yan is just not worthy of her. Nailin Yanran. Humiliate him in front of everyone. Why are there so many people here? Nailin Yanran looked at the scene in front of her and blinked, a little at a loss. Are there guests today? Isn't that man the master's teacher? He became a Daozong? Nailin Yanran was suddenly a little excited. In this case, the person behind her will be even more powerful. I can feel more comfortable myself. Look at the others. She basically knows everyone here. But I have never seen that strange young man and that strange woman. It's really weird. Now she dare not go in. And he happened to hear Yunshin's happy words. He just stood there, watching quietly. The other people's eyes didn't seem to be on her. All of this was placed on Yunshin. Congratulations. 2. Master, the old sect leader, for successfully entering the Dao sect. Yun Suo and the other 5 people, as well as Furukawa, also raised their hands in congratulations. Huang Wei and Zijin stood aside eating melon. I have lived up to your majesty's hope and succeeded. Yunshin waved his hand slightly, then raised his hand to Huang Wei and said. Huang Wei immediately laughed. From now on, we are all family members, so there is no need to be so polite. Yunshin had a doubt and asked, if according to your majesty's words, the Wuming sect exists in a hidden form, then do I need to inform the rest of the Yunlin sect? Huang Wei said, no need, only the people here know about it, and the rest can spread the word slowly. Yunshin nodded. Yunshin understands. Yunshin paused for a moment and asked, your majesty, then we will officially join the Wuming sect. I wonder what the identity of those handwritings that symbolize the Wuming sect are? Huang Wei laughed and said, all 6 of you will have it. Only those who hold the divine mark can sense the existence of the Wuming sect realm. No one else can enter it. Chapter 279. Alan Yanran. A slight movement of hand from Huang Wei's hand. 5 gods of different colors suddenly floated out. These godheads are all new godheads. Even those godheads obtained in the system are collectively called new godheads. The 5 gods seem to have spiritual intelligence. After staying in midair for a moment. They all shot towards the eyebrows of the inheritors who were suitable for them. High speed. None of the 6 people in Yunshin had time to react. It was tightly bound by the mark of the godhead. In their minds a strange and mysterious voice appeared. At the same time, a strange realm appeared. This realm gives them a very comfortable feeling. Very suitable for them. It's like it was born this way. Huang Wei smiled slightly. These are the characteristics of the Wuming sect, one of a new type of power system. After completing the assessment, you will become the true corresponding god. This is really the first time I've seen such power. The world is so big, and what we know is just the tip of the iceberg. Yunshin, who was the first to come back to his senses, sighed and said, so does the rest. They can all feel that these powers have extremely terrifying mysterious power. As long as you can completely control it, you will become very powerful. Suddenly, Huang Wei's hand moved. The magic circle and several stones appeared. Everyone, next I will open for you another power system belonging to the Wuming sect. It is called Wuhan. Yunshin, you stand in this formation, and now I will awaken the martial spirit for you. Huang Wei said lightly. Those who joined his Wuming sect have had this idea since the last time he escaped directly into the divine realm, found the unique awakening formation and stones of Douluo continent. The little medical fairy and others tried to awaken their martial spirits. Therefore, several high-level members of the Wuming sect now have their own exclusive martial arts. And because of world compatibility reasons, after these people awaken their martial arts souls, they don't need to absorb the soul environment every 10 levels like Douluo to reach the realm. These problems don't exist at all. Here, upgrades are free. Every 10 levels of the martial soul will directly provide the master with the most suitable soul skill. It is also the fighting skill of this world. Yunshin didn't understand what this was, but when I hear the words awakening and martial arts, I feel something special. Don't dare to neglect. He immediately stood on the formation. Under the pull of Huang Wei's power the formation is activated. Those stones shone with light. Chapter 240. Immediately afterwards, a huge humanoid martial spirit appeared on Yunshin's body. This huge humanoid martial spirit carries a strong wind force all over its body. Wind Demon Huang Wei suddenly had information about this strange martial spirit in his mind. This is a very good martial spirit. Make good use of it, Huang Wei said. Next, come Yun Yun. Huang Wei looked at Yun Yun. After all, Yunshin is a Daozang, and he is also an experienced person who has practiced for so many years. Follow your feelings. To understand this new power system called Wuhan. Very mysterious, seems very powerful. The methods used are even more mysterious. In a flash of thought, the wind demon was restrained. He had a deeper understanding of the wind. Yun Yun and others are looking forward to what their martial arts will be. In the formation, she quickly awakened. Soon I had a clue. That's all. A wind shadow holding a blue sword appeared. This sword is very long and very big. The wind was also very strong. Then, one after another, soon Huang Wei had awakened all 6 people. When else do you plan to see it? At this time, Huang Wei turned his head and looked at the little girl who had been standing at the door. The eyes of the rest of the people were instantly focused on the small and exquisite blue figure at the door. Yanran, why are you here? Yunshin spoke first. Yun Yun was stunned for a moment and then seemed to think of something. The breakup of the engagement had been completed before. After returning, she did not continue to do anything, and the other party continued to practice. When Nalan Yanran was looked at by everyone, she didn't know what to do for a moment. He looked a little panicked. After all, no one here is a simple person. Either an elder, a fighting emperor, or a fighting sect. Even the old sect leader called the person he had never met before his name. What's going on in this world? However, she seemed to remember something. The most important thing about coming here this time is to give Yunnan good news, because she had just received a message from her grandfather and the family. His poison has been cured. Let her, a little girl, not have to worry. Yanran, come here quickly. I have seen this Lord. Yun immediately called Nalan Yanran to come to her side. Nalan Yanran nodded and walked over obediently. Now she no longer looks like she did before in the Zhao family. She totally has the image of a good girl. After all, Zhao Yan was not the person she liked. I haven't seen it since I was a kid. So my unreliable arranged by grandpa a baby kiss with someone else. Naturally, he was very unhappy. When Nalan Ji learned that Nalan Yanran had made her own decisions without authorization, she went to the Zhao family to break off the engagement. The whole person's old face almost lost its expression. I think back then, the old man of the Zhao family was also a fighting spirit like him. It's a pity that the other party is dead. But he did not die and finally stepped into the Dawan. The friendship between the two is extremely deep. That's why the marriage was decided. The old man decided it. Now this junior goes over and makes his own decisions without consulting him, and so arrogantly. In the Dalki continent, any one party goes to the other party in full view and breaks off the engagement in front of so many people. It will bring extremely unspeakable humiliation to the party whose engagement was annulled. This must never happen. And he and the old man of the Zhao family are so close. But there is no sequence later. Nalan Yanran was naturally relieved. At least it's okay to leave this matter alone. Better not to be recalled. Then you don't need to be scolded. Thinking of this, she smiled happily. Arriving in front of Yun Yun, Nalan Yanran looked at the young man in front of her curiously. Why is this guy so young and so handsome, so beautiful? The other party looks young and not old. It would be great if he could become my fiancé. Suddenly, she had some very abnormal thoughts in her mind. The little girl Nalan Yanran has met your majesty. Like those people. He quickly saluted respectfully and called you your majesty. She actually didn't know anything about what was happening at home and in the Gamma royal family. The whole person is in a state of confusion. After all, these days, since she returned to Yunlan sect, she has never gone down the mountain again. The whole person stayed in the sect and continued to practice hard day and night. For external matters didn't pay any attention at all. If I hadn't received a message from a pigeon today, she won't come here either. You won't see this scene either. Chapter 281 Year Promise. Black Corner Domain. Huang Wei looked at Nalan Yanran and smiled. This is the first time we meet, so I'm giving this elixir to you. You said well, Nalan. Yanran took it over with excitement. Thank you for your gift. Her bright eyes looked at the elixir in her hand. This pill is called Puan pill. It is a very special pill. You can take it now. Huang Wei explained. Nail and Yanran's little head moved. So I started eating. It melts in the mouth, and the meridians throughout the body are opened in an instant. The whole person suddenly felt very comfortable. Huang Wei said, I have a list of some medicinal materials here. Please help me find them. By the way, take the time to go to the Wooming Pavilion in the Wooming Sect realm. There will be what you want in it. It's your majesty. Everyone nodded, took the list, and remembered the contents carefully. At this moment, Nail and Yanran had already fallen into the process of sitting cross-legged and refining the medicinal power. I will bring people from the Wooming sect together tomorrow so that everyone can get to know each other. Of course, many of them are your old acquaintances, Huang Wei said. The rest of the people also understood that the people over there were probably the guys from the Jama Empire royal family. Just like that, time flew by. These people, during this time. Use the gods in your mind. The location of the Wooming sect's realm was found. It's already gone in with just a thought. After they get inside. I was immediately stunned by the scene in front of me. Blue sky and white clouds. The surrounding area is flat ground. It looks very ordinary. But there is a mysterious force calling them in front. The 6 Yunshan people moved forward quickly. The next second he saw the huge and vast pavilion in front of him. This pavilion exudes an ancient and mysterious aura. 6 people entered it. The purpose of this Wooming Pavilion appeared in my mind. Chapter 241. Wooming automatically detects these people, divide them, match the appropriate martial arts and fighting skills according to their qualifications. The next day. In the realm of the Wooming sect. Huang Wei summoned everyone to come. Let everyone get to know each other. And tell them how to judge the people of the Wooming sect. That is using the gods to perceive. As long as you are a member of the Wooming sect, the godhead on your forehead will have an inexplicable connection. When they truly inherit and become that god, the feeling of being connected will be even stronger. Today, I have summoned you here. In addition to letting you meet, I have one more thing to do. Huang Wei said. As soon as these words came out, everyone else immediately became serious. This matter is that I intend to rule the entire northwest region. The first goal is to eliminate the surrounding empires. Those Dao Wang or Dao Huang can join the Wooming sect if they surrender. Otherwise, there is no need. Huang Wei said, Your Majesty, when will we start taking action? There are no Daozongs in the surrounding empires. If we go out and lead the empire's soldiers together, it will be very easy. Nailanji raised his hands and asked, Let's take action in 1 year. Huang Wei said, During this year, you should practice hard and train your soldiers. Don't hide the fighting skills in your hands. Except for those obtained by Wooming Pavilion, you can teach them all. The elixir resources will be given according to your tasks. Of course, as members of the Wooming sect, you will have corresponding salary every month. Huang Wei waved his hand. Several more bags of stuff fell into their hands. Go and collect the medicinal materials. As long as I can refine the medicinal materials once, you can all get them in large quantities in the future. Huang Wei continued. The men put the bags away. This is a big treasure. After hearing Huang Wei's words again, he suddenly became excited. Refining it once and providing it in large quantities in the future. Their eyes glowed with gold. I can't wait to set off now to find medicinal materials. It's your majesty. Everyone nodded. Let's adjourn the meeting. Huang Wei waved. This ended the meeting. There is still a long way to go before the 1-year agreement. After Huang Wei spoke to them, he left the matter over there to them to complete. As for him, then go directly to Canon College. There is a task over there that he needs to complete. An agreement with Yao Lao. Grab the Medicine King Hanfeng and go back. Then swallow up the fallen heart flames in Canon Academy. Moreover, Medicine Emperor Hanfeng also has a strange fire in his body. This time, he can get at least 2 strange fires. The thought of this made me excited. And there are also many forces in the Black Corner domain. There are a large group of Dao Emperors, Daozongs as well, and there are also places where Daozong can hide. As long as he can find it out, it won't be a big problem. Cannon College is also in the black corner domain. It's just that, because of Cannon College, the area ruled by Cannon College is a peaceful area. Other than that, all other places are evil places with no rules and no order there. Killing people and grabbing treasures is a very common daily thing. It is rumored that the bodies of 2 fighting kings and 1 fighting king were hung on a necromantic tree. It was really scary. The Black Corner region is the most chaotic place in the entire Dalki continent. At the same time, it also spawned many powerful characters and forces among them. Alliance is the most common existence. Huang Wei's figure has reached the sky above the edge of the black angle domain. His figure was blocked by the clouds below. But his eyes could see through the clouds, saw the topography below. In the Black Corner territory, the only law of survival is the law of the jungle. Huang Wei murmured. This time he did not take Amethyst and the others with him. Kinglin and the little medical fairy were also left there. This time he set off on his own. Because he likes to act alone. It's easier this way. Huang Wei touched his chin. He wasn't stupid enough to take everyone in. Because he is too lazy to manage. The most important thing is that the Wooming sect has just developed. The people he wants to recruit are those who are more obedient. Let's feed this group of people first. His figure quietly entered the black angle domain. Become one of the passers-by. Where he turned the corner at this time, he felt a cold murderous aura. An ordinary person dares to come to the black corner territory, so be careful in the next life. The other party seemed to use Huang Wei as a tool for catharsis. Kill them quickly. When the axe falls the next moment, the attacker was stunned. Because the object hit by the axe turned into a water shadow. Not the real person. No, I was fooled. The man came to consciousness instantly. His face turned sideways, and he kept checking his surroundings. However, at this moment, a scarlet sword came directly from behind him. He flew out directly. Huang Wei's flash came and stamped him hard on the ground. I thought it was that insect, but it turned out to be just a fighting spirit. Huang Wei showed a cold and disdainful tone. Sir, misunderstanding. Dowling realized that he was no match at all. He immediately panicked and begged for mercy. Chapter 281 Medicine King. Han Feng, let me ask you, where is the residence of Medicine Emperor Han Feng? Huang Wei stabbed the opponent's cheek with the Shura demonic sword. The bloodthirsty judgment power of Shura demon sword easily pierced Dowling's skin. Don't kill me, I said, over there. Dowling trembled and pointed to the left in fear. Go to hell. Huang Wei used a little force and trampled the opponent directly. One can imagine how terrifying the power is. Huang Wei looked in that direction. Teleport away directly. In the process, he saw the real chaos here. Everywhere you go, there are those unsightly things happening between men and women. Completely unconcealed. Huang Wei was very fast and arrived at Han Feng City in an instant. Many people came here because of the famous name of Medicine King, Han Feng. This is also the base of the Black Alliance. These people came here to find Medicine King Han Feng to refine the elixir. Han Feng City is heavily guarded. I saw so many people and the troops guarding them. Huang Wei's expression changed. Chapter 242. Move the fingers of your right hand slightly. The next second a scene of the gods appeared. Only a strange fire appeared. A green flame appeared instantly on everyone here. After they reacted, they were burned alive in fear and panic. Inside Han Feng City. Han Feng, the Emperor of Medicine, was refining the 6th grade medicine. His eyes suddenly opened. It seemed that he sensed something of the same kind. Looking outside the alchemy, the breath of strange fire. This is the inner fire of Kinglian medicine. Emperor Han Feng was overjoyed. He did not expect such a great treasure to be delivered to his door. The alchemist's favorite thing is strange fire. I didn't expect it to show up now. He looked greedy, eager and excited. It even made a weird sound. A huge house. A figure appeared. Those soldiers who tried to get closer were all burned to death. Even those who were not close were all burned to death. There were no survivors. Now that we are here. Huang Wei went directly to his hometown and did as the Romans did. Follow this law of the jungle. Should these people die, he doesn't care. As long as he has nothing to do with people. Or must die. What? A big bitch. How dare you kill someone in the Black Alliance? Yao Huang's mansion. This is the burning of strange fire. Let's meet you for a minute. The Next moment, some Dao Wang and Dao Huang in the house took action one after another. They planned to kill the arrogant, mysterious, and powerful young man in front of them together. This guy killed people in public on the territory of the Black Alliance. Such arrogance did not take their Black Alliance seriously at all. Where is the face of their Black Alliance? So I have to call back this time. After the man was killed, his head was hung outside for public display. This is the result of provoking the majesty of the Black Alliance. The war is about to break out. But is it really a war? Just looked at these people. A red Shura divine sword filled with a chilling aura appeared in the young man's hand point in an instant. Murderous intent surged into the sky. Just the power caused by the murderous intent made the Dao Wang and Dao Huang who rushed over turn pale. I immediately realized something was wrong. Not daring to be careless, he immediately used his strongest fighting skills, pushed his skills to the limit, tried to break through, and killed this T's point judgment of Shura. Huang Wei swept it casually point inside the mansion point. A red arc swept out at 360 degrees Dao Wang. A crack suddenly appeared on Dao Huang's body point. Then everyone was physically separated point. Fall to the ground point. The vitality is quickly eroded point without any resistance. He was burned to death by King Lian's in a fire point. At this moment, the arriving medicine king, Han Feng, saw this scene point. His expression suddenly changed, and his legs were numb from fear. Han Feng swallowed, forced himself to calm down, and said, "Sir, calm down. The world is a big place. There is Daozam behind me. As long as you join us, this matter can be ignored." After all, so many Dao Wangs and Dao Huangs joined forces, and were killed in an instant, without any resistance or ability to fight back. With so many people, it would take Zhao Zuan a long time even for him, and it would be impossible for him to exit the battlefield unscathed. But the person in front of me died so easily. From here we can see how terrible the gap in strength and realm between the two sides is. And Han Feng couldn't feel what level he was from the person in front of him. Daozang? Or Daozun. That's why he brought out his only trump card. Old man Mugu point Huang Wei raised his head and looked at him and said with a playful look on his face, "So many people died like this, so you can just forget about it if I join you, Han." Feng was stunned and said, "Of course, these people have proven to be insufficient in strength as you said." He was afraid, so he planned to delay it for a while point. Then his hand secretly made something. "You have so many little tricks, but how could such a small move escape Huang Wei's eyes?" For a moment, Huang Wei's figure appeared in front of Han Feng. Before he could finish his words, Han Feng's expression changed, and he wanted to use fighting skills to attack. But it was too late. Huang Wei pinched his hand and tore it off directly. The token fell to the ground. "Ah, Han." Feng screamed in pain point. Ignoring the token, he immediately used his fighting skills and attacked Huang Wei with a ferocious expression point. Faces attack point. Huang Wei hit the Shura divine sword with a slight wave of his hand and killed it easily. "Gilu, your Excellency, I have no enmity with you. Why are you doing this to me? Don't kill me. After all, I'm also a 9-star peak fighting emperor. At such a young age, I'm a 6th grade alchemist. I can help you. And with my talent, it's no problem to advance to the 7th level. In order to survive and understand the power gap, it is absolutely impossible for him to defeat the opponent unless he self-destructs. But he couldn't do it point. He is afraid, entrusted by others. I will take you back to face trial, Huang Wei said in a calm voice. "Who, your Excellency, as long as you let me go, I can give you what you want. I just want to live." Medicine. King Han Feng took a pill to stop the bleeding on his arm and used fighting energy to reduce the pain. He gritted his teeth and said, "Tell your Hazenan to hand it over." Huang Wei stretched out his hand and said, "I can consider saving your life." Hazenan. Okay, I'll give it. Han Feng now has no right to choose to refuse point, because the other party really wanted to kill him. After killing him, it is the same as taking away Hazenan, because once he dies, Hazenan is like a thing without an owner by that time. The man in front of me can swallow whatever he wants, even though he didn't want to do it. He still wanted to live. He still reluctantly gave up. Summon Hazeline directly. He forcibly terminated the master-servant relationship with Hazeline. This process is extremely painful. He immediately screamed. Panting from exhaustion. The whole person lay weakly on the ground. The body is twitching. Hot sweat swept through my whole body. His face turned pale. At the same time, his cultivation level dropped rapidly from the 9-star peak. Huang Wei raised his hand and held Hazeline directly in his hand. The other hand was aimed at Han Feng, who was on the ground like a dead dog. The space around him distorted. Chapter 243. Then, with Han Feng's stunned look on his face, he was sealed into the rune space. I spared your life, but I didn't say I wouldn't arrest you. Chapter 282. Thunder recovers and reorganizes, and the 9 alliances come out. Medicine King Han Feng was sealed into the rune space. Huang Wei's spiritual consciousness penetrated into it. 2 different runes appeared in his hand. 1 sealed Tang San, and the other sealed Han Feng. These 2 buddies can be a companion. He shook his hand and took it back. Next, his eyes looked at the token on the ground. With a twist of the 5 fingers, fighting energy suction appears. The token was sucked into the palm of my hand. Old man Mugu, should I summon you to kill and then devour you? It will help me further my cultivation. Huang Wei recalled Zuan Wuke's ability. Now this skill is incredible. Able to rejuvenate the whole body by devouring life forms at the same time. It can also improve one's own cultivation. Isn't it outrageous? Those people before were not absorbed, but killed directly. That's because the other party's cultivation level is too low. He didn't like it at all. But old man Mugu is different. This guy is a 3-star fighter. He is also an 8th grade alchemist. Old man Mugu also has a very high status in the Soul Palace. If something happens to the other party here, the Soul Palace will definitely arrange for someone to come over. After all, he is an 8th grade alchemist. The Soul Palace takes it very seriously. In Huang Wei, the soul of the master of the Soul Palace was destroyed. This guy is a genuine high-level fighting saint. He didn't dare mess around. He is not the opponent's opponent yet. So he thought about it. I plan to do it after I leave here. But suddenly he had an idea. Now I need a large number of people. Help him find medicinal materials, especially the bone melting and blood melting elixir. That is a 7th grade high-level elixir in the original work. Xiao Yan reached the 8th level. After taking it for a long time, the effect is very huge. In addition, he also needs to find the body of a semi-saint or a 9th level peak fighting master. This is also the previous condition. He took the initiative. At his plan to first recruit the powerful talkers in the Black Corner region, except Canon College to the Wuming sect. Help find the movement in Han Feng Mansion. It also attracted the attention of the other Black Alliance members. There is also the attention of other forces and alliances. People were sent over to see what happened. But nothing was found. But the people inside were missing. I need to go back and report this matter. By then the power will be boiling. Because they were sure that Han Feng and the others were gone. Just plan to take action against the Black Alliance. Seize and divide the territory within it. In these few days Huang Wei swam away all the forces in the Black Horn territory, except Canon College. The masters of the Demon Sword sect and senior officials surrendered and joined. The 8 sect masters and senior officials surrendered and joined. The leader and senior officials of Dian sect surrendered and joined. The Blood sect leader and senior officials surrendered and joined. The Rakshasa sect master and senior officials surrendered and joined. The leader and senior leaders of the Crazy Lion gang surrendered and joined. The leader of the Cheyenne sect joined with high level submission. The head of the Black Emperor sect and its senior officials surrendered and joined. The owner of the Demonic Flame Valley and other high level officials surrendered and joined. Overnight, the situation in the entire Black Corner territory has secretly changed. All these people who surrendered and joined the Wuming sect. All of them bear the mark of the gods. Huang Wei first asked them to go to Wuming Pavilion to collect the items. At the same time, pills such as Po Zongdan and Pei Yuandan were distributed. Those 9-star peak fighting emperors took Po sect pill and became 1-star fighting sects. Those who are not at the 9-star peak Daohuang realm have all taken Po Yuandan or Daohuang Dan to improve their level. After taking Po Zongdan, He also entered the 1-star Dao sect in one fell swoop. In an instant, Daozang in the Black Corner region started temporary mass production. As for the other Daowang or Daohuang, their levels have also been improved one after another. The benefits are there, and these people's return to home will be even better. If they have second thoughts, Huang Wei can sense it from the center of the god realm. When the time comes, he can easily crush the opponent to death. Huang Wei asked them to rectify the entire Black Corner territory. Find various medicinal treasures. There is also news about the strange fire. With the help of this group of people, he can obtain medicinal materials in large quantities in a short period of time. Once he obtained a medicinal material, then the medicinal materials are inexhaustible. The elixir is completely mass produced. Refining medicine honestly, do not make jokes. This is the age of technology. Leave it all to the super lab. It will help Huang Wei complete technological mass production. Even the quality is not bad. When nothing happens, Huang Wei also eats Pio and Dan like beans. Eat and eat. Plus a little more time to practice seriously. Plus hazel iron from the previous system. In an instant, his cultivation improved further, became a 6-star Daozun. A week passed in the blink of an eye. The pattern of the Black Corner domain has basically stabilized. Now in the Black Corner domain, there are only two forces. One is Cannon College in the peace area. One is the 9 leagues outside Hepping. The Black Corner territory is now in a state of great strength between the two clans. The people here and those in Cannon College were also shocked by the sudden big change. The 9 alliances joined forces and wiped out those other forces that did not surrender overnight. And formed a huge 9 alliance army. A person sent by Cannon Academy to investigate information. It was also horrifying to see these situations. I don't know why, but I feel a little uneasy. Go back and report immediately. And during this time, the top management of the 9 leagues and those people were frantically searching for and harvesting medicinal materials and treasures from heaven and earth. Hu Qian, the dean of the outer courtyard of Cannon College, looked solemn. When did these guys become so united? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244. It was dog eat dog before, but now it's the same thing. That's weird. That's weird. Something big is about to happen. How about we arrange for the Great Elder to find out clearly whether the other party is planning to take action against Cannon College. The elders of Cannon College were discussing. Quickly return to Cannon Academy. At the same time, among the 9 alliances, Huang Wei was very satisfied with recycling the medicinal materials from these people. At the same time, we started to update the formula of Pio and Dan. Develop some new elixirs yourself. At present, Huang Wei already has a large number of Daozang. This large number is naturally included in the Gamma Empire. When the time comes, let these people come together as a reward. Huang Wei gave these people a Zuanwu blessing. Help them baptize their whole body and improve their qualifications. Fighting King level upgrade. There are also some Daohuan. Daozang does not. But his cultivation qualifications have been improved. This is also impossible to ask for. They obtained the most suitable exercises and fighting skills from Wooming Pavilion. It's pretty quick to upgrade. Not too difficult. A month has passed. During this month. On the surface it looks very peaceful. At least in the Black Corner territory, because of the appearance of the 9 alliance. There was no chaos like before. The order has undergone a new round of changes. Huang Wei handed over the reproduced medicinal materials, as well as some heavenly materials and earthly treasures, to his men for auction. The purpose is to attract people from outside the Black Corner territory. Let Jiameng do the publicity. Intensify. If you find some along the way, you can create seedlings. You can enter his nameless sect. It's time to go to Cannon College. At the highest point of the 9 leagues, Huang Wei looked at the world outside. His eyes fell on Cannon College in the peace area. He must swallow the fallen heart inflammation. However, at this moment, a figure came to Huang Wei. Chapter 283. Wind Furious Dragon Flame. Cannon College, Your Majesty, we discovered a strange fire in the Valley of the Wind. It's probably the Wind Fury Dragon Flame on the strange fire list. As this figure appeared, several more figures appeared behind him. They are all in the Daozang realm. At their center there is a round energy body point. This energy body is the flame with crazy dragon breath that they work together to get back. Wind Fury. Dragon Flame. Huang Wei's eyes lit up. It's really the Wind Fury Dragon Flame that ranks 18th on this list of strange fires. He reached out his hand and grabbed it without hesitation. Thank you for your hard work. These are your awards. As he said that, Huang Wei waved his other hand, and the few rays of light that fell were the improved Piyuan Dan point. The medicinal power of a Piyuan pill is terrifying point. As long as they absorb and refine it point, it can offset more than 10 years of hard work point. Everyone was on fire point. Took it point. Thank you for your reward point. Huang Wei was in front of them point. He opened his mouth and swallowed the Wind Fury Dragon Flame directly point. The burning technique in the body was running rapidly point. In a short time, he successfully refined it point on his body. 3 strange fires and 2 beast fires appeared at this moment point. A mysterious forces intertwined between them point. The 5 flames quickly condensed into a young figure. This is the spirit of strange fire. Okay. Huang Wei looked at this palm-sized spirit of strange fire. It doesn't look too powerful yet, but he could feel that the other party could easily merge all the current flames into one. Throwing it out will be a very terrifying fire lotus of destruction point. And with that comes constant absorption point. The power of the strange fire will become more and more terrifying point. Huang Wei's burning technique broke through to the ground level. We almost entered the middle stage of the earth stage point. It's probably because the strange fire he absorbed is ranked far away point, so it has not yet broken through the middle stage of the earth level point. If the strange fire he absorbs is very powerful, he can definitely break through to the middle of the earth level. However, Canon College's fallen heart inflammation is his goal point. Just swallow this 14th ranked strange fire point. The burning dew must evolve into the middle stage of the earth level. He was extremely excited when he thought of this. You go and practice. Huang Wei waved his hand point. They left one after another. Huang Wei felt that there were signs of breakthrough in his cultivation point, so I took a few newly improved Piyuan pills into the Jialing space to practice a little bit point. His cultivation directly broke through to the 7-star Daozun. It's time to go to Canon Academy. After leaving the Jialing space, Huang Wei's figure flew directly towards Canon College. Quickly point. A tyrannical force approached, and he did not hide his powerful cultivation aura point in Canon Academy. Huang Wei and the 2 guardians hidden in the darkness sensed the coming aura point. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead point. The same goes for the rest of the top brass. Don't dare to neglect point. He immediately flew up towards the sky point. The outer courtyard of Canon College point. Goo Zuna's expression changed as she walked out of the dormitory point. Fire appeared in her eyes. Look at the sky point. Because she found it in the sky point. A golden emperor burning heaven flame was arousing violently point. It's a mutual attraction between likes. A powerful being with strange fire appears. This aura is at least Daozun. Who could be coming? Is Canon College a curse or a blessing? Let's take a look first. If it's dangerous, then I'll contact the family members to come over and eliminate this Daozun. Go. Zuna's face showed coldness and dignity. Now Mr. Ling is not by her side. Instead, he went to protect Xiao Yan secretly. So what she had to do was get out of here quickly point. Just in case the other party senses the strange fire and finds her, then there will be trouble point. Although she is protected by the ancient clan point, but if a Daozun takes action, she will definitely die point. But it's okay, as the eldest lady of the ancient tribe point. That is Gu Yun, the pinnacle fighting saint. Chapter 245. Naturally, he has a life-saving charm on him. The life-saving charm has the shadow of my father. It is easy to kill a fighting master with shock. On the sky, Huang Wei looked at the figures flying up in front of him point. His face looked as usual point. Huang Wei immediately stood in front of Huang Wei point. He raised his hand and asked respectfully, "Dear Daozun, I wonder why you came to this small place like Canon College. If it doesn't work, they will move out Dean Mang Xianqi, a semi-sage point. C. If the other party can give you some face point. After all, the dean has not been seen for many years now point. If the other party doesn't give them face, they will be dead point. But those who come are not necessarily enemies." The reason why Huang Wei spread the aura of 7-star Daozun point just too lazy to wait point. These 2 old guys who were hiding in Canon Academy were deliberately called Outpoint negotiate terms with them directly. Point it's easy to accept. Point if you don't accept it, that's easy. In the face of extreme strength, they can only accept reality. I come here this time to do two things. The first thing I want is the strange fire in your Xianfen Key refining tower, the fallen heart flame. Huang Wei first raised 2 fingers and then withdrew 1 point. The next moment, or thought occurred. Point on his body. Point 5 flames appeared. Point the spirit of alien fire can be condensed or divided. Point hear this word and see this scene. Point Qian Bailao and others were shocked. This guy is here for the fallen heart flame. Since this guy has 5 flames on his body, is it all strange fire? No, there are 2 that have the aura of magical beast. They should be animal fire, and the level is not low. The remaining 3 are real strange fires. These people are extremely hesitant in their hearts. It seems that Xinayan, who has fallen today, cannot be kept. When they saw this moment, Qian Bei and Erleo looked at each other, smiled bitterly and shook their heads. If the dean was here. Point these are minor issues now. I can only face reality. If your majesty wants it, then take it. That beast down there is now in the stage of rioting. It's also an annoyance for us. Qian Leo said. Bailao asked cautiously, Your Excellency Daozun, after all, that is the place we give students to practice. If you take away this strange fire, you will not be able to provide fire energy, and they will not be able to practice. I wonder if you can compensate us with something. Since Your Excellency Daozun is good at collecting flames, he must be a great high-level alchemist. I wonder if you can give us some elixirs, so that we can train students. After Qian Leo said the above, he mustered up the courage to negotiate terms with the young man in front of him. Don't worry, there are more than 1 fallen heart flame at the bottom of the sky burning key refining tower today, and there is also a young one. I will catch it and give it to you in a moment. Huang Wei downplayed it. This rioting fallen heart flame made them all afraid. But for Huang Wei, it is a great tonic, and a young one. Everyone was shocked. Huang Wei did not reply to them and flew directly towards the Xianfen Key refining tower below. Evacuate the students there immediately and get all the students in the tower out. Qian Bailao directly issued orders to the Great Elder and others. This is also to prevent those below from accidentally irritating each other. Point it's no joke. Then point the students left quickly. Point and Guzuna secretly watched from not far away. Is this guy coming here to fight Fallen Heart Flame? Guzuna understood now. It turned out that the other party was not a saboteur, nor was he coming for her. He was relieved. Chapter 284. Controlling the fallen heart flame and the Xianfen Key refining tower. The people outside have been evacuated in order by the elders. As for the students inside, they were also kicked out. Point. Although I was unhappy, I saw that the elders had taken action personally. Point he could only hold back his anger and leave. Point as for those students who had entered the room and were practicing, they were also forcibly kicked out. Point with a lot of anger. I want to find someone to discuss it with. Point. But point even if you see it is an elder, that's just asking. Point the elder said indifferently. If you don't want to die, leave as soon as possible. These elders did not tolerate them at all. Compared to these people, a Daozun is even more terrifying. What if there was a riot when the fallen heart flame was conquered? Then all the students here can suffer. Those students saw that the elders were serious about it. Not a fool either. It suddenly became clear that something big might happen that would endanger them. Otherwise it would be impossible for the elders to do this. And it's never happened before. So they all left wisely. Point. After cleaning up all the students, the elders also went out to seal off the area around the Xianfen Key refining tower. Qian Bailao and the rest formed a group. A barrier was created to cover the entire Xianfen Key refining tower. No one dares to be careless. Everyone was nervous as hell. Sukian asked, Qian Bailao, where did this Daozun come from? Probably from Zhongzhou. Qian Bei said in a deep voice. Although it was suspicion, from their subjective point of view, they believed that Huang Wei was from Zhongzhou. Qian asked again, for such a young Daozun, could it be that an old monster has fixed his appearance? Qian Bailao was silent. In Zhongzhou, there is a big stage for real strong men. There may not be such a young Daozun. If this young man is really that age and his talent is very terrifying, he must be some super powerful force. We at Cannon College can't afford to mess with your young master, at least until we find the dean. After a pause, he added, even if the old monster fixes his face, it would be very scary. This is not unreasonable point. They all nodded and thought this was the truth. Now that we don't have the dean as a half-saint backer, we can only follow the other party's wishes. Fortunately, the other party is only interested in Fallen Heart Flame and has no intention of attacking us. It just so happens that Fallen Xin is a time bomb. If he stays here, it would be best if someone can conquer it. Qian Bei and the two elders spoke to each other. That's true. He said there is a young one underneath, but I don't know if that's true. So, Qian said. Qian said, now we can only hope that it is true. If it is young, we can control it, and we don't need to worry about the problems caused to the students after the Fallen Heart Flame disappears. Everyone nodded after hearing this. By the way, there have been big changes in the Black Corner territory recently, and the Nine Alliance suddenly appeared, and I just noticed that the direction this dozen came from happened to correspond to the direction of the Nine League's ancient tower. Tell me, could this dozen be the one responsible? At this time, an old fighting emperor spoke. As soon as these words came out, everyone's expressions froze. I was very nervous just now because of Huang Wei. He didn't pay attention to this detail at all. But now think about it carefully. Oh my god. Chapter 246. It seems to be true. No, that's where it came from. Anyway, we'll find out after we ask. Qian Bei interrupted. Everyone was silent. At this moment, he is inside the Xianfen Key refining tower. Huang Wei's figure has already entered here. He observed the structure inside the tower in front of him. Then look at the circular place in the center in front of you. Walk over and take a look. Underground is the hot lava that is moving violently. It just didn't explode completely. Falling heart flame, here I come. Huang Wei muttered and jumped directly. A layer of golden light shone on his body. The next moment, the whole person was integrated into the lava. It feels like hot, scorching heat. The temperature is very high. But for him, it was just a little bit of physical training. After all, the usefulness is actually not great. The most important thing is that he is a fire escape. After he became a god, various factors strengthened him. His physique makes him immune to fire energy attacks. Of course, if you really use flame energy beyond his too high level, you will still be injured. As he continued to dive, the soul power of Huang Wei's half-step heavenly perfection spread out quickly. Now his soul power is really about to enter the heavenly realm. All it takes is a small opportunity. Huang Wei's expression changed, and he soon discovered the flame that transformed into the body of a dragon shadow in this huge molten world. It is the Fallen Heart Flame. This guy has developed spiritual wisdom. It's just not very strong. Suddenly, Fallen Heart Flame, which had fallen into a brief period of silence, suddenly started to riot, because it felt that a powerful presence was coming to its territory, and that sense of crisis was directed at it. Come to life. He suddenly became angry, directly found the leading target. In this Magna world, it is the sky. It's too easy to find a goal. From the rear, he attacked Huang Wei directly. Fallen Heart Flame, the real strange fire, the existence that ranks 14th on the alien fire list. Extremely bad-tempered. The attack power is even more terrifying. Facing the sense of death crisis that suddenly came from behind, Huang Wei turned around quickly. Roar. Just when he heard the roar, he saw a huge fire dragon sweeping towards him. He watched calmly. The next moment, Fallen Xin bumped into him. At the same time, a turtle shell-shaped protective shield appeared in front of Huang Wei. Bang. Huge impact. But he couldn't move the turtle shell even 1 inch. It's terrible. On the other hand, Fallen Heart Flame seemed to be in a daze, and suddenly began to twitch. A growl resounded from its mouth. It was very painful to hear. Just kidding. Huang Wei's turtle shell defense and counter injury don't care if you are a strange fire or not. Will also be affected by damage. Fallen Heart Flames aura instantly withered. Point at this time, Huang Wei took action with a thought point. A force condensed into a huge palm point. He squeezed the fallen heart inflammation like a chicken. Point suppressed by a violent force. Point the surrounding airwaves surged rapidly. Point the screams of fallen heart flame kept ringing out. Point the reason why Chen suppressed and sealed it here. Point it's because the other party can't swallow the strange fire. Point, and I don't dare. Point even if he is a semi-saint, and is not a semi-saint with the fire attribute. Point without the aid of anything else. Definitely don't try it lightly. Therefore, Chen does not take the risk to devour it. I'm not an alchemist, so I can't use it. Just use it to give benefits to students. Now this guy is suppressed by Huang Wei. Point once again, I realized what crushing by absolute strength means. After a few breaths the originally long body of the fire dragon gradually disappeared. Point no more violent. Point become very obedient. Point because when he was caught, fallen Xinan kept resisting. Point but because the giant hand also has a turtle shell. Point every time it resists it is a collision. Point every collision brings back damage. Point so it's like hurting yourself. Point finally it was gone. Point chapter 285, a turn of Daozun. Wait until you have completely calmed down. The giant palm opens. A section of milky white, almost colorless faint flame was burning. Point this is the true nature of fallen heart flame. Point but it is not the real ontology. Point the real original fire is in the strange fire square in the cave of Tuoshigu Emperor. This is just the original sub-fire at best. Point without hesitation, Huang Wei put it directly into his mouth. Point feeling the burning heat, he was not afraid at all. Point he closed his mouth and swallowed. Point there is a feeling of heat in the throat. Point but it was quickly digested by his body. Belch under the hiccups, a wisp of white air floated out of his mouth. Point Huang Wei quickly activated the burning technique in his mouth body. Point in an instant, he came to the area where Luo Zinan was sitting cross-legged. Point the real refining and absorption begins now. His cultivation level has reached the level of 7-star Daozun. Point I just hope this thing can get another star rating. Point the more advanced the burning technique, the more benefits it will bring to the body after devouring it. Time passed by minute by minute. Everyone outside was originally worried about the atmosphere in the rioting Xianfen Qi refining tower, but I saw that the breath gradually calmed down. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Is everything going to be okay? Sukayan asked. It seems so. Hukayan said. Point Kayan Baileo was silent. Chapter 247. Checked carefully. Point all of them were hovering around the Xianfen Qi refining tower. Whenever something goes wrong. Point immediately activate all forces against. Point by that time there will be no holding back. Point although the breath is calm now. Point we still have to stay there until Huang Wei comes out. Point soon half a day passed. Point the sun is going down. Point this period of time. Point the Xianfen Qi refining tower has always been calm and there has been no disturbance. Point now. Point inside the Xianfen Qi refining tower in the molten world. Point the location of Huang Wei. Point a terrifying aura rose up. Point where the breath is the aura of the 9-star peak Daozun. Point and at this moment. Point Huang Wei is using burn and various means. A large amount of the surrounding fighting energy condensed into the body. Point impact and become a 9-star peak 1-turn fighting master can be seen. Point at this moment, countless flames of fighting energy around him quickly condensed towards his Danshin. Point Danshin gradually changes from light to thick. Point an unknown amount of time has passed. Point finally, an aura far superior to that of the 9-star peak Daozun appeared. It is the aura of Yunzuan Daozun. Not bad, it's a turn. At the same time, the burning technique in the body evolved again. It has become the peak technique of the mid-earth level. Burning technique, absorbing flames to evolve, and at the same time, increase the upper limit of one's own cultivation level. After 8 more turns, you can become a semi-saint. But the difficulty of these 8 turns is not as easy as imagined. Turn 8 can also be equivalent to upgrading 8 stars again. Each time you need to accumulate a lot of fighting spirit to complete it. It takes a long time, but time is too long for Huang Wei, whose lifespan is endless, totally worthless, even after leaving the God Realm. Point compatible with this more advanced world. Point but it didn't change his longevity. Point it's probably because he absorbed and refined the center of the God Realm. Point Huang Wei thought. Point a long lost system task panel appeared. Point host, Huang Wei soul, Zuan Wu talent, turtle's longevity, endless life, and integration of rings lifespan, identity, time traveler Dao Qi, Comes with the ability to strengthen the foundation and cultivate the energy. 9-star peak. 1 turn to Daozun Divine Bones. 20 million years of Black Tortoise Divine Armor. 6th turn Daozun. Skills, teleportation, invincible golden body, ice, and fire dragon king strike. Absolute zero. Absolute flame extinction, water shadow and light body, evil killer whale cleave, death spirit tide, wrath of demonic whale killing, divine power conversion, blood bat shield, blood red 9-headed storm. The center of the god realm will automatically upgrade the year, soul power, 6th turn Daozun physical strength, 5th rank Daozun self god, Xuanwu god current artifacts, Poseidon trident, Shura demon sword, Xuanwu heart soul skills, defense, comes with level 1 counter damage critical hit, level 4 armor enhancement. Armor savings, martial spirit space, martial air destruction, infinite Xuanwu cannon, Xuanwu gravity field, Xuanwu true body, heaven supporting wrath, Xuanwu 9 change, Xuanwu destroys the world, anti-injury rate, 100% critical hit rate, 100% cultivation speed, 50% inner elixir drive, deep sea demonic whale king inner elixir, blood red 9-headed bat king inner elixir, 10-headed fiery sun snake inner elixir, Poseidon's heart, integrated into the heart, system warehouse, soul, Gangshan, mature stage, is as powerful as Daozun, embryonic stage, juvenile stage, infancy, juvenile stage, growth stage, adult stage, mature stage, complete mature stage, ultimate body, super ultimate body, kung fu, burning technique, peak of mid-level earth level, Xuanwu Yan technique beast fire, blue dragon flame of the nether sea, purple gold flame strange fire, green lotus earth core fire, sea heart flame, wind fury dragon flame, fallen heart flame. There's the rest underneath the alien fire on the panel. Point he watched carefully. Point his mind retracted the panel in front of him. Point the panel does change in a lot of places, but that's probably it. Point in his body. Point there are many forces present. Point especially the 3 soul beast inner elixirs in the body. Point it also became a magical elixir grow up with him. Point if all the greatest power really breaks out. Point the power of his strongest blow now must exceed the power of a 6th level Daozun under the Xuanwu divine armor. Each turn requires a lot of force. Point and the second turn requires double the energy and fighting spirit of the first turn. Point the third turn is double the energy of the second turn. Point the fourth turn is double the energy of the third turn. Point the fifth turn will double the energy of the fourth turn. Point the sixth turn is double the energy of the fifth turn. Point the seventh turn is double the energy of the 6th turn. Point the 8th turn is double the energy of the 7th turn. Point the 9th turn is double the energy of the 8th turn. Point after finishing point once again, double the 9 turn energy fighting spirit, and you can step into the 9th turn peak Daozun. Point then we face the dilemma of becoming a saint. Point the level you enter is naturally after you reach the semi-saint level, before reaching the fighting saint level. Point so one can imagine. Point even the power possessed by Daozun in any of the 9 turns is very terrifying, unless the real secret method of terror can be used. Otherwise it will be impossible to cross. Feeling his current strength and cultivation, Huang Wei looked down. A bold idea arose in his mind. Would you like to go down and take a look? There is a race of salamanders down there. After all, point if it is absorbed, the opponent's cultivation level can also be improved. Point and below is the cave of the ancient Tuosh Emperor, and there is a huge dragon emperor you can guarding it. Point takes who ancient dragon is the best at playing with the void. Point as for the void, even Huang Wei only knows a little about it. After all, he has not understood the law of void. In the center of the god realm, there are no gods who understand the laws of the void, but he has the law of devouring. Point this comes with Xuanwu. Point and the law of longevity. This also comes with it. Point there is no need to say more about the law of defense and the law of counter injury. Point all are available. Point in addition, he has other laws, but because it is compatible with the higher world, Huang Wei didn't pay much attention to cultivation in those laws. It plays a minimal role here. As for the teleportation, it is completely insufficient in front of Texu ancient dragon. I wonder if I can enter the cave with my teleportation? Chapter 248. Suddenly he thought about it. But if that doesn't work, so he is done for. The worst thing is to enter the Jialing space. This internal space generated by Xuanwu. I wonder if it will be opened by Takezu Ancient Dragon. After all, that guy is at the pinnacle of the 9-star fighting saint point. It is very close to the existence of a half emperor or even a Dao emperor. Think about it. He still wasn't going to take the risk, but he was very interested in the Salamander clan point. And in this world, there is still a small fallen heart flame point. This was something he had previously promised to Canon College point. As for the soul of Lord Xianhuo point, he also planned to accept it. Chapter 286 Lord Skyfire. Huang Wei found a weak soul power in an area point hiding in a ring point. He grabbed it in his hand. Come out, Lord Skyfire. But suddenly, the ring emitted a ray of light point. A faint transparent soul floated out. Your Excellency, how did you find me? Yao Xianhuo had just secretly watched Luo Zilan face off against the guy in front of him. The former was crushed and manipulated, and then devoured, absorbed, and refined without humanity. He knew the whole process. But unexpectedly it was discovered. He swore he had been extremely careful. Just curious to take a look. Anyway. He is also the former master of Fallen Heart Flame. Do you think I don't know that you have been watching me just now, Huang? Wei showed the power of Daozun and looked at the soul in front of him with a half smile. Yao Xianhuo moved his mouth as if he had been right, showing a guilty conscience. No matter what, the Fallen Heart Flame is my strange fire. I'm his former master, so I'm quite worried. His eyes wandered as he spoke. The little old man Yao Xianhuo was startled and suddenly felt something was wrong. No, how did you know that I'm Lord Xianhuo? I have disappeared for so many years. I should have disappeared long ago. Could it be that the legend I left behind in the outside world is still there? Exist? Of course I have a way of knowing your name. Huang Wei didn't bother to explain and said, I can take you out and find a body no less powerful than Daozun to resurrect you. What are your conditions? Yao Xianhuo said with his heart moved, without the non-serious look before. A person like him who has been around the world for so long. But I will never believe that pie will fall from the sky. Huang Wei said, join my Wuming sect, and I will give you the position of elder. Yao Xianhuo frowned and muttered, I have never heard of the Wuming sect. Did it appear after I died? Yes, I founded it myself not long ago. Huang Wei admitted, it's really a new building, but with Daozun like you here, it won't be a big problem. Okay, I agree to your terms. Yao Xianhuo nodded and said he believed that with his joining, even if the Wuming sect could not compete with the real big forces in Zhongzhou, it would still be able to gain a lot of nourishment, as long as it did not commit suicide. The conditions for resurrection and rebirth are so attractive. He believes that no one who has lost is willing to refuse. No one is willing to die. The higher your cultivation level, the more you fear death. Huang Wei smiled and said, okay, does Elder Xianhuo have another strange fire here? Yao Xianhuo was shocked. You also know this? Then he nodded and admitted, it is true. The magma in this place is very pure. After so many years, a young fallen heart flame has been cultivated somewhere. But now you have absorbed the big one. This small one has it's useless for you to absorb it anymore. I don't want it. I'll give it to you. The Canon Academy above your head will soon be an external product of my Wuming sect. Huang Wei smiled deeply and thought. In fact, he didn't need to ask Yao Xianhuo. You can also find the existence of the strange fire point, because it was mentioned in the original work. This strange fire is actually not far from the Yaoshan fire point. Sure enough, he quickly found the flames in an area in the corner. He teleported directly to the opponent. The young fallen heart flame felt a terrible attack. The flame shrank. Huang Wei ruthlessly grabbed him and held him in his hands. It's really a cute little flower. As he spoke, he took a deep look at the molten world. Is there any creature down there? Huang Wei asked Yao Xianhuo. Yao Xianhuo said immediately. His expression was solemn. There is indeed a tribe of salamanders down there, which are also native life forms here. However, I advise you not to go down there. After all, this is the opponent's territory down there. His tone dropped. In their own world of flames, they can exert far greater power than in their heyday, and it is very likely that there is strength at the level of a fighting saint. He added again, Dao Sheng, forget it, then we won't go on. Huang Wei was also scared. For now, He can't defeat Dao Sheng. Still on someone else's territory. The most important thing is that there are too few descriptions of salamanders in the original work. He wasn't sure if there was one. He didn't remember the plot very clearly either. So I'm not going to take any chances directly flying upward with the Yao Xian Ho and the seedling Fallen Heart Flame. Inside the Xianfen Key refining tower. More than 10 days have passed now. After seeing this stabilized everyone gradually relaxed a little. Kai and Baileo just happened to enter here to check the situation. Found that nothing existed. Planning to leave. It seems like something could really happen. Will he die together with the Fallen Heart Flame in the Magna world? Kai and Bei and Erleo each guessed. Not quite sure if it is just when he turned to leave. There was a pop behind him. Molten splashed out. The two of them were startled. Turn around immediately. I saw a familiar figure. Floating steadily in the center. Look at the two of them quietly. Honored. One. The two men immediately turned around and held hands in respectful tones. The aura on this man's body was even more powerful than before. The two of them felt a chill on their backs as soon as the breath spread out. Hot sweat could not help but overflow from the capillary blood pores. Well, you two, this is what I promised you. Arriving in front of the two of them, Huang Wei raised his hand and the young Fallen Heart Flame appeared in his palm, lying quietly, not daring to resist at all. It's really the young Fallen Heart Flame. This kind of power is very weak and can be controlled. Kai and Bei and Erleo became excited at the same time. Go ahead then. The two of them carefully picked it up and took it in their hands. Your Majesty, thank you very much. Now that you have obtained the strange fire, why don't you go visit our Canon Academy? Suddenly, Kai and Bei Erleo rolled his eyes, thought of an idea, and said with a smile. Chapter 249. Now Mang Xianqi has disappeared. I don't know if he is dead, and the two of them are already the strongest beings in the entire Canon Academy. But facing Daozhen is still not enough. So they decided to see if they could invite the person in front of them to sit in charge. It would be a good idea to take up the position of guest dean. At least Canon Academy has its own new trump card. Okay, let's go and have a look. Huang Wei smiled and nodded. Before that, the two of them first prepared the seedlings of Fallen Heart Flame. Continue to provide flame energy for the Xianfen Key refining tower. So under the leadership of the two men, Huang Wei left the Xianfen Key refining tower. Seeing this, the elders outside also respectfully called him sir. The crisis has been resolved. You can all go back. The Xianfen Key refining tower can be used by students normally. Kai and Leo said to these elders. The elder was overjoyed. The crisis was finally over. In the sky, three figures came and went freely in Canon Academy. It attracted the attention of many students and instructors able to fly. Without wings, so the minimum starting point is a Daozhen level strong person. It seems they are not enemies. Go. Zhano was really relieved now. The other party did not notice her presence. So he quickly followed the others to do the task. Chapter 287. Dean Keqing came back from a long walk. Huang Wei also truly saw the beautiful scenery of Canon College. Your Majesty, we have something to ask for. Kai and Bei felt it was time, so he rubbed his hands and said with a smile. After all, you are asking for help from others. Speak. Huang Wei's wise eyes immediately saw the little idea that the two of them had been hiding in their stomachs. He smiled slightly and said nothing more. Kai and Baileo heard that the other party was already like this. I don't intend to hide it either. He said directly. Your Majesty, our Canon College was originally founded by a semi-saint level saint, but he suddenly disappeared many years ago. Now the college is in urgent need of a dean to take charge. I don't know if the Venerable One is available. Are you interested in becoming the guest president of Canon College? Huang Wei smiled and said, haha, actually speaking, we really coincide with each other. Could it be that His Holiness had this idea before? When Kai and Baileo heard this, he was immediately overjoyed. But the two of them did misunderstand. Huang Wei shook his head and said, no, do you still remember the two things I said before? The first one of the strange fire has been completed. There's one thing left that's not finished yet. Huang Wei raised his finger and spoke unhurriedly. Your Majesty, it doesn't matter if you say so. Kai Baer said. I don't know what kind of medicine the person in front of me is selling in the good. I am the leader of the Wuming sect. The sect has just been established and is short of manpower, so I plan to invite people from Canon Academy who are fighting kings and above to join the inner sect. I wonder how you two feel. Huang Wei said with a smile. Thousands of elders heard this. He suddenly fell into an embarrassing situation. This, Your Majesty, I would like to ask, what are the benefits of joining? Beileo said. They consider the current situation of the world. Fell into deep thought. You can obtain breaking pills for each realm, such as breaking emperor pills, breaking sect pills, and various high-grade pills. At the same time, you will also gain unexpected skills, and fighting skills and new power. As for the rest, we can only know after you join. I can't say anything now. Huang Wei raised his hand and said, I'm an alchemist who is about to enter the 9th level. Think about it carefully. Qian Beileo fell into shock. Po Huangdan, Po Zhangdan, any one of these can make countless people crazy. The person in front of me is as worthless as a jelly bean. And since the other party is still an alchemist who is about to enter the 9th level. In other words, you are now an 8th grade peak alchemist? Qian Leo swallowed and asked. Not bad. Huang Wei nodded. Mixed strange fire appeared in the hand. Several materials appeared directly. In just one breath. 2 round and smooth elixirs with overflowing elixir fragrance appeared. These are 2 Po Zhang pills, given to you, Huang Wei looked indifferent and directly threw the Po Zhang pill in his hand to Qian Bei. The two took it immediately. Hold it carefully. To others, it is a big treasure. But to the person in front of him, he was like trash. The difference is really big. Just rely on the hand Huang Wei just showed. Refining medicine out of thin air. Only very advanced alchemists can do this. So they really believed it. This is a unique skill. He also directly conquered the two of them. Your Majesty, we are willing to join. However, this canon college belongs to the semi-saint dean after all. Although he has disappeared for many years, there is no news of his death. If one day he comes back, canon college will not be his, but the nameless sect's. How should we explain to him? Qian Beileo was very confused when he thought about this problem. The most important thing is that the other party is a semi-saint. If they were ordinary Daozun, they wouldn't need to worry so much. Huang Wei smiled slightly. Your dean, Mang Xianqi, will not come back unless something unexpected happens. After all, their family still has many things to be busy with. About Mang Xianqi. He still knows a little bit. After all, he is an elder of the Thunder Clan. It didn't appear until the ancient celestial tomb. I came back to Canon College very late. At that time, his cultivation had long been beyond the level of Dao Sheng. Plus his identity as an alchemist. At that time, he didn't say anything else. He should be at the peak of the 9th grade or even the imperial grade alchemist realm. Mang Xianqi didn't dare to say anything. Moreover, Mang Xianqi is also worried about the safety of Canon College. If you know that someone is protecting you, you can naturally feel more at ease. Do you know our dean? Qian Bei was shocked when he heard this. Huang Wei said, I have heard of him, but he didn't say anything about me. After hearing it, Qian Leo, go and summon all Daowang and the higher-ups of the realms above to come over for a meeting. Huang Wei said, it's Your Majesty. Qian Leo nodded. Bei Leo, let's go to the inner courtyard conference hall. Huang Wei looked at Bei Leo. It's Your Majesty. Bei Leo nodded immediately in response. In this way, the two sides divided their forces into 2 groups. Everyone goes where they should go. Soon, the higher-ups in the college received the news. They all went to the conference hall in the inner courtyard. There are many locations here. Everyone took their seats one after another. Chapter 250. Huang Wei sat on the main seat of Mang Xianqi. Now he is the guest dean. It deserves to be sitting here. If the principal is gone, he will be the principal. The moment they saw Huang Wei, the expressions of the elders and senior officials all paused, showing not a big change. At the same time, Qian Leo and Bei Leo also appeared. They saluted in the direction of Huang Wei. Everyone, I have called you here this time to announce 2 things. The first thing is that Your Majesty will serve as the guest dean of my canon college, and his cultivation. By the way, dean, what is your cultivation level? Qian Leo and Leo didn't talk nonsense and went directly to the topic, explaining the real intention of calling these people here this time. But the words were half spoken. They were also slightly stunned. Yes, the two of them still don't know the specific cultivation level of the person in front of them. Huang Wei said, "My name is Huang Wei. I just absorbed the fallen heart flame and successfully broke through to the first level of Daozun." As he said that, he once again spread the aura of Yizu and Daozun. The expressions of those elders and senior officials who had seen Huang Wei changed. Everyone here has seen him. This aura is many times more powerful than the first time I saw it before. 1. Turn Daozun. They took a deep breath. Anyway, it's pretty cool. Do you have any opinions? Kai and Leo looked at you. Everyone immediately shook their heads. We have no objection. I've met Dean Huang. Everyone stood up and saluted again. This time it was very grand. Good. The next step is to announce the second thing. Dean Huang is the founder of the Wuming sect. In addition to being a first level Daozun, he is also an 8th level peak alchemist who is about to break through the 9th level realm. All of you who have reached the level of Daowang can choose to join the Wuming sect. Become a member of the inner sect. Kai and Leo said directly. Chapter 288 Join. Ziyan. Kai and Leo has already made a statement. I'm willing to join. Naturally, they won't have any objections. But Huang Wei's smile was as gentle as looking at a child. He once again took out the gods from the center of the god realm. Distributed to these people. The main purpose of using gods is to allow these people to enter the nameless realm. Although the center of the god realm has been upgraded, there is also a system of gift packages for gods. But gradually the quantity will become insufficient. Therefore, he must create the next imprint belonging to the Wuming sect. Only by activating this mark can we find the nameless realm and enter it. Huang Wei thought carefully. It's still inheritance. That is to let the inheritors of these gods complete their inheritance as that god as soon as possible. At that time, there was a divine mark in their bodies, and this divine mark would not disappear after that. The position of the deity will be passed down. Still using the same old stuff from the god realm. Take all this power. Next, I will awaken a new type of power system for you one by one, called Wuhan. The light of divine personality escaped into their eyebrows one after another. Everyone was in a daze at this moment. After getting familiar with it, they were all shocked by this new type of power called God's. Huang Wei has prepared the awakening array. Let them awaken their martial spirits one after another from now on. They will have one more way to fight their enemies, and combining the techniques of this world with martial arts will produce unexpected results. Thank you, Your Majesty, for the new power. Everyone thanked him. By the way, Dean, there is another Daowang in our college, but she is not an elder, but a student. At this time, who can thought of that little girl Ziyan? This guy is truly a little monster at such a young age. He has cultivated to the level of Daowang. The eldest sister among the students. No student dared to provoke him. Moreover, the other party is also gifted with extraordinary strength. The power is extremely great. After hearing this, everyone remembered that there was such a person in the academy. She is not here now. After all, only the elders of the college are qualified to come. Dean, this girl is born with great strength. She is already a champion at a young age. She is extremely talented. Although she is not an elder, if she graduates, she can become an elder directly. So, she is also an elder of Canon College now. Sukan said immediately. This is a super good seedling, and cannot be buried. They also have a very good relationship with Ziyang. After all, I watched him grow up. Kan Mu and Beilai also knew Ziyang. Also recommended together. Huang Wei smiled slightly, and nodded when he heard this. That little guy is naturally so powerful. And it is also very normal behavior. It may be shocking to those who do not know the identity of the other party. But for him, a time traveler who has read the original work. But they knew that the Ziyan they were talking about was the only daughter of the Dragon Emperor Zhu Kun of the Taixu ancient dragon clan. That's right, it's the old dragon who was deceived by Emperor Tuosh to guard the cave under the Xianfen Key refining tower and the lava world. 9-star peak fighting saint. Very horrible. Now he can be easily killed in front of the other party. And there was no room for resistance. If these people don't know Then he pretends not to know. Let's first trick this little guy into entering the wombing sect. Anyway, he has a lot of elixirs. Not afraid of the other party eating it. I'm just afraid that the other party is full. Elder Hukian, bring that little guy over to see me. As for you, just use the mark of the gods to sense the existence of the nameless realm and go to the nameless pavilion inside to get the second benefit. Huang Wei's eyes seemed to be looking at Hukian, and then he turned his eyes to the rest of the people. Yes. Everyone nodded. They also want to see what this nameless realm and nameless pavilion are. Very curious about this. All of a sudden, they split into two groups. Huang Wei was sitting here waiting. The flow of time in the nameless realm is very fast. So it doesn't take too long to wait for them to come out. At this moment, Hukian, who received the order, was looking for Ziyan in Canon College. This little guy, I don't know where he went. Hukian, who was flying in the sky, suddenly became distressed. This little guy usually has nothing to do but find a place to dig for treasure or hide somewhere to steal food, eat, or sleep. They are already used to this. After all, there are some medicinal treasures in Canon Academy. They were all found out by this guy Ziyan. So I can eat it by default. But you need to save some. Don't really eat it all. Hukian released his soul power. I want to look for Ziyan. But he found out helplessly that he was not an alchemist. Soul power is not that powerful. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.